Girl, real talk. This whole "it's a new year, time to reinvent myself" trash is not the vibe for 2024. You can find someone who loves you for you, as you are. You don't need to read a stack of self-help books, only eat sad salads, or start meditating at 5 a.m. to be ready for dating. So yeah, my advice is to download Bumble and find someone who embraces you the way you are right now. Let me know how it goes.
This episode of Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Morningwood Apartments. Had a bad day at the office? Got a case of the Mondays? Let Morningwood Apartments straighten you out and get you hard. Morningwood Apartments cares about the planet as much as they care about your restful night's sleep. With open floor plans and recycled 4-ply cardboard walls, Morningwood Apartments believes in building a community of residents who knows the intimate details of each other's lives, even if you're being sneaky and trying to whisper. Wake up on the right side of the bed with a boner that's rested and charged to attack the day with fervor and carnal energy that should last about 1 to 5 minutes. Enough to get you into the car and into traffic. Nothing makes a dick soft like a traffic jam, am I right? Although Morningwood Apartments are eco-friendly, nocturnal emissions are encouraged. However, black lights are strictly prohibited. Pop onto Morningwood Apartments and don't knock over that coffee with that Morningwood at Morningwood. Why pitch a tent when you can wake up with Morningwood? If you lived here, you'd be hard already.
From Mike Judge, creator of Beavis and Butthead and co-creator of King of the Hill, comes a movie about people who go to work. Who are part of a team.
And remember, next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day.
Okay, but I could set the building on fire.
Who respect their boss.
We need to talk about your flair.
Well, I have 15 pieces on.
15 is the minimum. Brian, for example, has 37 pieces of flair on today. And a terrific smile.
And need to escape.
I don't like my job, and I don't think I'm gonna go anymore.
One of these days, I just kick this piece of...
I'm thinking now it might be more fun to just get fired. And I've always wondered what that would take.
Oh, Peter, listen.
It looks like you've been missing quite a bit of work lately.
Well, I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
That's just a straight shooter with upper management written all over him.
We're going to be getting rid of these people here. Mr. Samir, okay. Not going to work here anymore anyway.
You haven't been showing up and you get to keep your job.
Actually, I'm being promoted.
Thank you, Bob.
This is a suck.
They're gonna throw you out on the street so that Bill Lumberg's stock will go up. Ooh, it's completely unfair. Initech deserves to go down.
We're just the guys to do it. Tell me about that virus you're always talking about. The one that could rip off the company for a bunch of money.
I'm not going to do anything illegal, Peter.
Illegal? Samir, this is America. The worst they're gonna do is they put you in a white-collar minimum security resort for a couple of months. You know they have conjugal visits there?
I might be showing her my O face.
Oh.
They let you have sex with women?
They sure do.
Okay, I'll do it.
Office Space.
I know you've been getting pretty depressed about your job and everything, and so I just wanted to tell you, good things can happen in this world. I mean, look at me.
I got some thoughts on the marketing.
That's
a little bit later.
Terrible trailer.
I've got some thoughts on the marketing.
I mean, it kind of hits all the terribleness. It misleads you kind of about what the movie is. So there's a line in the trailer that says, like, I've always wondered what it would take to get fired. That's not in the movie.
No.
And then there's the, like, every funny line in the movie is there, but it's kind of out of context. So that's funny. What a fucking terrible.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
But it doesn't ruin it for you. Like, you got the flip side where we've been pissed at the ones where...
That's true.
Definitely doesn't give you the whole storyline. I'll take that.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies, just a blind by, no reason why. I love this scene. Nick Natak and Brad, your favorite podcast. The stars best thing.
Okay, we are here to discuss the 1999 Mike Judge classic Office Space. So this was my pick, and this is one that I've watched in binge, sort of like over and over again in stretches for years. I've never had a long gap, I think, where I haven't seen it. I bet I've seen it at least once every year or two since it came out more than 20 years ago. And it kind of, hits me a little bit different every time. It's always funny. It always sort of has some like classic lines that I remember, some classic scenes that make me laugh, but it always sort of says something just a little bit different. And I really found that this time, and I'm not going to spoil it, but this time my takeaway from the movie was a unique one relative to every other time I've watched it. Because it sort of, and I sort of preface this by saying that I don't work in a normal like cubicle office environment. And so the movie for me wasn't really about the workplace. It was sort of about like, what it means to be an adult. So I want to say more about that. But first, let's just get a quick take around the table. So what, had everyone seen this before at all? Was there anyone that didn't see it?
I had seen it. Yeah.
I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah. Multiple.
Okay. So we all.
Same here.
Okay. So what's the quick take, Nick?
Just, it had been a while. It had been years since I had seen it. Thoroughly enjoyed watching it, and just like it was so much fun. And maybe because we're doing the pod and it's like you're focusing on the little things, but enjoyed, like Nate, you and I talked earlier just about how it does such a great job of making fun and making light of all of these little mundane details, of everyday life, whether it's an office job or whatever. So I had a good time looking at all those and some of the little things of how some of even like the simple shots and why they shot and placed certain things, for everything from the backyard barbecue with the huge, annoying water tower in the background to the cut of them walking from their parking spot all the way through this like kind of
through the drainage ditch.
Just giving you an idea of like the setting. And so all these little things that I enjoyed, just not to mention the cast of characters, which I will get in, to later. But just really enjoyed it. And, this is probably the 7th or 8th time that I've watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie, but it's weird watching it this time. I can see why somebody wouldn't like this movie as far as pacing goes and things like that. And we can talk about that a little bit later, but I love it just because it hits on so many things. I mean, I worked in a shitty job before. I worked in a restaurant before. So, I mean, it hits home on so many different levels of just little things that just piss you off and make you angry. So, if you don't like this movie, there's probably
something wrong with you.
Something wrong with you, or you're judging it based on just like being like a cinephile as far as like, structure or this or that. Like I could see maybe you picking it apart that way, but if you just want to think of it as like an insight into humanity, I mean, it's a classic.
Which is kind of a Mike Judge thing to do, right? I mean, if you look at a lot of Mike Judge, he's great at like making fun of, but simultaneously embracing these really fundamental parts of the human condition and the modern human condition and maybe the future human, idiocracy and stuff. I like that Mike Judge like simultaneously makes fun of it, but like in a way that sort of is endearing,
It
like
doesn't
also,
get dark.
It's not dark. It's not, it's sort of like, he likes it.
Yeah.
So this is where I shit on it. I liked this movie at some point, and there's a lot of quotable lines. I feel like the stapler lines and the O-face line, and there's a lot of stuff that really stands out and just kind of like, kind of lives its own life beyond the movie. But man, it was kind of a rough watch. I felt this just comes down to my personal opinion, and we'll get into it when we talk about Mike Judge a little bit. I just don't like Mike Judge. People love this guy. People revere Mike Judge. And I know some people at this table, some people's siblings at this table just love Mike Judge so much. And I'm looking at his filmography. I'm looking at the stuff that he's written and the stuff that he is involved in. And I have a tough time getting behind a lot of it. I was excited to watch this movie because I probably haven't watched it in 10 years. And man, the opening scene is so good. The stuck in traffic scene is so good. And then after that, man, there's a lull. There's a real lull. There's some really underutilized characters in this movie. I had a rough time getting behind it. I think they had some really funny stuff that they didn't explore. We'll get into it, but
so it's funny if you're looking at Mike Judge stuff though. It's actually more limited. Like he's not as prolific.
No,
as
not
some
a
of the
lot.
really revered guys. So like, if you like Mike Judge, your menu's a little bit small, except in the sense that there's a lot of Beavis and Butthead stuff.
You really love Beavis
Right.
and Butthead and Idiocracy and Office Space.
Well, no, there's a shit ton of King of the Hill episodes as well.
Which is the most overrated animated comedy ever. I mean, you could watch 47 episodes of King of the Hill and not laugh once. I mean, you could be entertained slightly. I mean, he says propane weird, I guess. I guess the woman that does the voice of Bobby Hill is funny, but besides that, I mean, I don't think the writing is anything groundbreaking.
He does some Silicon Valley, writes a lot of that one, which
I haven't seen, so I can't speak
I like
on
that
his
one,
entire
but I probably
catalog.
like that one less than a lot of people. And then he's also, I think, the one we haven't talked about that I will bring up again later is Extract, which I think is a total dark horse.
That he wrote and didn't direct, right?
I think it's okay.
Yeah,
I think it's okay.
interesting.
I mean,
I like Idiocracy.
I mean, there's some great things about it. The Bateman, and
I literally love Jason Bateman, and
He
I
directed
turned
it,
Extract off 30 minutes in because I was like,
that was a bad decision.
this is not funny at all. When's
Brad,
the funny
pool
come?
boy who ended up being in Schitt's Creek, like
Oh, it was a
hilarious.
I
character.
forgot that he was in Schitt's Creek.
Wait,
That's
who?
he was.
Which one?
He's
Brad
the pool boy in Extract.
Is who in
He's
Schitt's
the
Creek?
husband,
The vet that goes out with the Lexus.
Yeah, that eventually.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I forgot that. Okay, so that's your quick takes. We are going to jump right into. We've done a little tiny reorg, so if you've been paying close enough attention to Bevs, well, we love you and thank you so much. And if you've been paying close enough
Both of
attention, we're doing a slight re-rack here.
Frailty
so
twist.
We're going to jump. Right, yeah, exactly.
Because you've been listening to our pod, so
We're
going
gonna
to
throw
exactly what we're
you
talking
know what
about.
I'm saying. We're going
to throw all the twists at you at once.
So we're going to switch around things just a little bit here, and we're going to jump right into our drinking with the director. So first of all, what's everybody drinking? I will kick this off. So I brought to the table today some Booker's bourbon. I was complaining earlier. I was like, I don't have any good whiskey. I need to go to the liquor locker. And then I realized I have like 12 bottles of bourbon. So I went deep into it. And this is from what I like to refer to as my wedding dowry. My wife bought me a bunch of bourbon, and this was the last of the Booker's, which is high octane. So
I would like to note that Nate has not put any Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, into his bourbon tonight. So we're really getting crazy on this Thursday
He's got
night.
the Diet Pepsi chaser.
Locked and loaded. It's
Ready.
I got the 2 liter sitting here under the table.
Yeah, I'm dropping, of course. I went away from the local beers for a second, but I'm back to the local beers. And from our local brewery, Last Call Brewing, Oakdale, California, I've got the Hoisting Heavy Haze. It's their newest double IPA, hazy, and it's delicious. Go get some. It's in cans or on tap.
It looks really good, I have to admit, inside of your coffee mug that you're drinking that out of.
I'm showing off the can for the viewers at home.
Nice.
I'm drinking bourbon tonight, and I have to admit to the audience that I've been on the sober train for about 3 to 4 days, and this bourbon is tasting pretty good.
He's got the big bottle of Bullet there. So
I've got a
he's
large
catching
bottle
up.
of Bullet bourbon, and Nate has artisan ice cubes that he has provided
They're giant balls.
to all of us here.
I haven't molded out of my actual balls.
Yeah, it's they're kind of tiny and veiny, but
There are veins and follicles.
Yeah, there's follicles.
Follicle impressions.
As with Nate's head, not a lot of hairs, a lot of follicles.
Impressions, though. Impressions.
What you drinking, Nate?
I'm following Nate's lead with the it was Booker's
Booker's
bourbon.
like I think it's like 700 proof or something. It's very it's very high.
3 fingers of
That's a lot of proofs.
Booker's proof.
A lot of proof. Okay, so we're drinking with the director. What are we gonna ask? What do we want to talk about? What do you guys want to talk about?
I have so many questions.
I have lots of questions.
So many questions. My first question is Mr. Director, how did you cast Ron Livingston as the star in your movie? And And at some point, there's a turn in the movie where Ron Livingston goes from a disgruntled employee to an employee that doesn't care and does not change his acting style in any way whatsoever. You're supposed to believe that he's had this epiphany or he's been hypnotized or whatever it is. And in my opinion, he acts exactly the same as he did before. He didn't give a fuck before and leaves work 20 minutes into work to go get coffee at a different establishment. Did you guys notice this? Could you imagine working in an office and then telling two other guys that work at the office, hey, let's all go at the same time. We're going to walk across the drainage ditch and go to Tchotchkes, drink coffee for an unspecified amount of time, and then go back to work and nobody's going to notice this?
The hypnotized thing, yes.
You don't let your employees do that.
They lost me right there. I mean, my goodness.
It did cross my mind with the hypnotist thing for the first time that he obviously is deep under hypnotism. The dude strokes out heart attacks.
Strokes out heart attacks.
Who's the actor that plays the hypnotist? I don't know who the actor is, but
Friar Tuck.
He is
Prince of Thieves.
He's spectacular too.
And then after that, like you're saying, Zach, he goes right back to his regular character.
Yes. There's no difference.
He wakes up, he slaps the alarm a few different times.
The difference is he doesn't go to work.
Character. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Ron Livingston is we're not going to say he's got a ton of range.
No. But the support around him, which
agree,
I am going to get to it.
See, I'm going to defend Ron Livingston in the sense that you need a guy who's supposed to be real, and I think he plays it more real. I think like any other character that might like make two whole different sides of them, that's kind of unnatural. It doesn't seem like that's how people really behave. Like he's in his mind, he's obviously made up his mind that he doesn't give a fuck at all anymore. And I mean, from the walking around, he's not panicked, he's not worried anymore. Now he's just chill. He's just like, okay, I used to be worried about getting fired. Now I don't give a fuck.
And for me, this is the deal. So I'll launch into my big like takeaway here. So I've never worked in an environment where I sat in a cubicle, but more on that in a bit. But so I sort of look at this and I thought, why do I like this movie so much? And why do people in general like this movie? Why is this like such a, not just a cult classic because it's funny, but like why do people return to this and sort of like really identify with it? And what I came to this time that I'd never before is this is pornography for adults who are adulting. Like, when you are an adult, right, the defining feature is that other people own your time, right? So, like, if you think about your day today, right, like how much shit did you do today that was 100% what you want to do and you didn't give a fuck what anyone else thought?
I've got a job and kids, so none of
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So
this podcast,
you go exactly. So you go through your day, right, and you're like, you're worried about what your boss is going to think. You're worried about what your kids are, your needs of your kids, sharing the duties with your wife, your parents who need you to run down and do something. Whoever else is in your universe of like expectations, right? It's all expectations. And this is the beauty for me of the thing is it's not like anybody's holding a gun to anyone's head. It's all about the fact that we look at other people and go, if I don't do this thing, I don't want to live with their disappointment or the expectation that I didn't meet. Right. And so like, and I noted a bunch of things in there. So like, he's talking about, they ask him to go poker and he's like, Ann will be pissed. Ann will be pissed off. Right. His answer is not like, Ann won't let me. He didn't even say Ann won't let me. He's just like, she'll be pissed. I don't want to deal with that. And so for me, I was like, this is pornography for adults who are adulting. Right. Like, this is why the hypnosis is so critical. It's because he's like, it's the thing that has to happen isn't that he like gets fired or that someone else does something. All he has to do is go, I don't give a fuck. Like, you can be mad, and that's why he's not afraid to go to work because he's like, I'll go to the office. Your judgment doesn't bother me.
Well, and I resonate with this movie so much because I did have a shit job where I opened up the office early in the morning and I was the only one there for usually about the first hour to hour and a half. I legitimately would go to like ESPN.com and like other websites and just surf the web the entire time until somebody showed up. Then I felt like, because there was no incentive for me to do better at work. I wasn't going to get any bonus money or anything like that. I had like my little minimum, very low salary. And I just would sit there and do legitimately nothing for that first hour and a half. And I didn't care because I was like, these people don't care about me. I don't care about them. there's no incentive for me to do extra stuff here. So I'm going to sit here and do nothing.
Which is one of the funnier lines in the movie is when he's talking to the two Bobs and he's like, I probably do 30 minutes of work.
I know. I had a t-shirt
all day
that said this. It's in any given week, I only do about 15 minutes of real actual work.
Yeah,
I had
exactly.
a t-shirt that said that for years.
And that resonates with me. What doesn't resonate with me is what is kind of, you're saying that, this movie resonates with people, but I mean, this is a very specific situation. All of the main characters in this movie are unmarried, no kids, living in apartments, seemingly 30-something people living in apartments with no kids and no real responsibilities.
So here's my take on this, though. It's a way heavier movie if you're like, fuck you, Mike. Fuck you, kids. I'm tired of dealing with your shit.
Way heavier.
Right? But it totally resonates with parents, as you point out, not because you don't love your kids or because you're not willing to do the thing, right? And that's why we don't all go to the hypnotist and are like, today is the worst day of my life. Every day is worse than the worst.
That's why it can be funny.
But exactly, that's why it can be funny. But it's still porn for us parents who are like, on a regular basis, when we're like, dude, I just want to sit here on the couch and watch a show and drink a beverage and not have to ever get up off this couch until I'm ready. And if you're a parent, that reality is very rare.
So being a married parent, don't you agree that he does that? He gets home from work, sits down on the couch, opens a beer, and watches TV in his apartment uninterrupted.
Totally, but
isn't that part of like the twist of it all is that's kind of what he's doing already, but he's not satisfied with what he's
super
doing
heavy. The expectations are always there.
Well, and also the porn for adults isn't like aren't the little like I mentioned earlier, like we had talked about the mundane things like of our lives that piss you off, even if they shouldn't, like getting static electricity zapped at the door handle. That happens when you're working at a workplace, any type of workplace, doesn't even have to be a cubicle, that you expect every day. You have a key that has a certain cork that you never get replaced because you're like, oh, I figured out how to unlock this door with this key, when maybe you could get a replacement and you won't have to deal with it ever again. But on Monday you get there and it locks a little bit and you're like, motherfucker, open. Or, so these little corks, and then the traffic thing, which has happened to all of us.
I one of my notes was like how great this movie is at talking about how angry you can be at inanimate objects and concepts. And like, I hate traffic, the concept, like I hate a person who has like murdered my family. I get rageful about traffic.
But that's the great thing about the opening scene is that it has the three different main characters and their three different reactions to the traffic, right? You have the first guy who's trying to beat it, right? Ron Livingston or whatever, he's trying to beat the traffic. He changes lanes and you get fucked every time that you try and beat the traffic. Or you have the other guy who doesn't care, he's just singing, he's laughing,
Michael.
or the guy that's just raging against it. You know what I mean? Like there's just three different reactions, and that's one of the better scenes in the entire movie.
That's great.
But then they come in hot in the office. He comes in the office and he gets hit up by 3 or 4 different guys about the memo. And you're like, oh, shit. And then you got the fax machine and you see each friend react to the printer or the copy machine in different ways. And
PC load letter.
You got the...
What the fuck does that mean?
Just a moment. Just a moment. You have her. And so they're introducing all
her
these
makeup,
characters.
that woman's makeup. The overweight, excessive makeup woman in the office is such a trope and such a true one because it's very on the nose.
I just feel like this movie is it's an hour and 29 minutes. Hour and 29 minutes. I don't feel like as slow as vanilla as Ron Livingston is, because of all the other things that they throw at you with characters and everything like that. Like you're saying, the adult porn of it all. It couldn't be any longer than 129. I think it actually doesn't feel quite that short to me, but thank God it's 129 and it's a perfect length for it, I think.
I've got 2 good questions for Mike Judge that I would want to ask. And we can talk these out. First off, does Peter work construction from here on out? Is that like that's going to be his career?
That's a great.
Or is it like he just kind of does it for a little bit and then he kind of figures out what else he wants to do? And then what does Peter's girlfriend end up doing? Does she stay with him? Do they stay together? Does she get a job? Like, how does that whole dynamic work out? Like, what are we thinking? Are we thinking that he ends up with her rest of his life? They're happily married?
I say yes and yes. I say he becomes. I don't think he stays as the like low man. I think he becomes a construction foreman.
Yeah,
but he's in construction.
I don't think so. I think the point of that's the question that you have for Judge, right?
Job to job.
The question you have for Judge is the big overwhelming. There's two, in my opinion, and they go along right with what Brad is saying. There's two overarching themes of the movie. One is that you don't, and it goes with Ron Livingston having a very one-note performance in the movie. Is that you don't have to change very much in order to get what you want. You just have to do it, right? He doesn't do anything different. All he does is talks to Jennifer Aniston, and she's into him. He doesn't do anything crazy. He's not wearing awesome clothes. He's not doing anything spectacular. All of a sudden, he walks up to her confidently and says, "Hey, do you want to go get lunch?" "Okay, cool." And she's into him, right? So all of a sudden, he's got his dream girl, and he didn't really do anything different. The second thing is that, like Brad's saying, does he become the foreman, whatever it is? No, I don't think so. Because the whole point is that, and I feel this to my core, being in charge of people at work every day, there is something to be said about not being in charge of anyone and being just going to work and doing your work and going home and no one calls you. You're not in charge of anything. That part of the movie at the very end when he's real happy and the guys are like, "Hey, we can get you a job doing some bullshit." And he's like, "Nah, I'm cool. I'm going to shovel up some bullshit, put it in this bag and go home and not fucking worry about it." That part of the movie resonated with me. And I wonder if that was the point or not. I don't know. I don't know if he was supposed to become the foreman like Brad's saying, or if just the level of not having any responsibility and just doing some remedial work is just kind of freeing in a way.
Yeah, I mean,
you know? I think that's
the
point.
Part of it. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to know if he had kids when he wrote this movie, because there is really, I don't think there's one child in the movie.
And no one, obviously,
that's a good point.
And children obviously become a huge part of your work and career choices and things like that. And so I wonder if he did this movie before he had kids, and if he did a version of it later, like how it would be different.
So one thing, my grand theory, right, because I haven't had that kind of job, was that this was sort of written as kind of, maybe call it an allegory, right, where like the office is sort of representing something broader. But then I looked it up, and 60% of Americans work in cubicles, this is according to the Google. And 93% of Americans that work in cubicles say that is the single worst part of their job, is working their workspace. So on the one hand, right, I'm trying to make this sort of big, heady, philosophical point. On the other hand, maybe this is just about how fucking terrible it is to work in cubicles, right? Like for a lot of people, I think they look at this and go, yeah, this is exactly what it's like. And I really wish I could take the screws out and fucking kick over the top of my...
Just gut a fucking fish right there on your workstation.
Yeah. Yeah, I just really fucking hate when they tell me to put TPA cover sheets on my TPS reports.
And at the risk of saying too much, and I know I've said a lot here, but what the main thing that I wrote down was I watched this movie in 2021 right after COVID, and it really made me think the entire time, is this an antiquated profession? Is the cubicle going to be gone soon? I mean, 2020 really showed us that everything that people are doing, we have the technology now with cell phones and Zoom calls and everything that we have, that all these people that are working in cubicles can do everything that they are doing from their cubicle from home. And I guarantee you that their work-life balance and their happiness would be much higher if they were in their pajamas, sitting at their breakfast table, doing TPS reports in their slippers with their kids there and their dogs. Is this going to be at some point? I mean, I know it's not, because people are going back to work now, but is this going to go away? Is this concept of you need to go to the office every day, is that going to be gone? I really fucking hope so.
I don't know.
I mean, maybe the cubicle format. I mean, just for physical, like health reasons after COVID. I don't know. That's a good point. And actually, we didn't even talk about the technology side. And the company was created to prepare for
Y2K.
2000 for Y2K, which is amazing. I love that little
one of the biggest wet fart.
That little time capsule. Yeah.
It's like nothing happened.
I kind of like how that
Except my
is
dad
like
bought a generator from Costco.
I like that. I don't care at all that it ages it. I like that. That's like totally a historical thing. That was a real thing.
I remember that was a thing. Like I remember like people preparing. My dad, fucking socked away 6 barrels of flour or something in the basement. I don't know. He was
barrels of flour.
He was a prepper before there were preppers. Bought the generator at Costco and kept the fucking receipt. So, you never know.
I need to return it in 20 years.
I think the next thing that would be fun to talk about is obviously Mike Judge has a love for hip hop, hardcore rap, and just the choice to bring the Ghetto Boys, Ice Cube. There's some Cool Keith in there. There's some things that are just like that, making that choice to take these kind of pasty office dudes and then like here they are going to be doing things to the theme of like hardcore rap, and I love the juxtaposition. I love it. I think it was a great call.
And maybe the best scene in the movie is the printer getting the shit kicked out of it. And what's so great about it, right, is that like, and it's exactly what we're talking about. More on the porn theme. I mean, how like. It's so stupid and yet so satisfying to be like we all have something that is an inanimate object that we would like to beat the shit out of. And he straight up throws like bare knuckles.
Yeah. He's biting his tongue and he throws the bat.
Samir's throwing axe kicks on it. Like, yeah.
There's a lot of heel kicks.
A lot of heel dropping. I love it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's a great point.
It's one of would you say it's arguably one of the best comedy scenes or sequences? I mean, top 5.
It's memorable.
Certainly one of the top memorable ones. Of the last
comedy
years or
yeah,
so. Yeah,
maybe top 10. I mean, it's amazing in every way, and it's all about the fist. If he just stays with the bat,
yeah,
it's not at all the same.
They drag him away.
Yeah, the fighting away to go get after it again,
and he gets away to get a
double foot jump, the double foot stomp.
And you want to talk about like good acting? Like that guy sells the shit out of that.
Michael Bolton. Yeah.
He's like his tears in his eyes. It's like he looks just like that guy who's like enraged but also like wants to on the verge of crying in the middle of the fight.
I mean, I felt like it was satire, right? I mean, that's like every movie where the guy's like way too worked up, beating up somebody that like did something to his wife or something.
Yeah. But like the kind of nerd that doesn't fight is super pissed and fighting and he's crying.
And don't it's like the from the Christmas Story.
The titular Muppets classic.
No.
Oh wait, sorry.
No,
that's a Christmas Carol. I take it back.
You're jumping into the future. Our listeners don't know. The idea that shit. Now you made me lose my point.
Sorry, Brad.
It's all right. We'll pause here for a second. Let me regain my thoughts.
Talking about Christmas Story.
No, previous to Christmas Story.
Thinking about scenes.
Oh, I was gonna say don't discredit Ron Livingston, though, in the background as he's kind of pacing back and forth. He's got the bat, and then he kind of like hands it off at the right moment. Like, it's kind of a cool little scene because he's like, he doesn't get involved. He doesn't actually beat up the thing.
He's just facilitating that moment for his
completely instigates it and like just is kind of there to keep it going. It's pretty awesome.
I love it. No, it's a great scene. And I mean, while we're at it, right? Like there are one of the things that I remembered is just how many different great scenes there are in this movie that are super memorable, that are really distinct. Like, it's not like the same exact kind and delivery of comedy, right? There's the O-face, the federal pound me in there at your ass, the ass prison, the Lumberg TPS reports, the Bob stuff. Like, there's so many different kinds of funniness that for me, I mean, if you really want to get down to it, this movie is just straight up like memorable and funny in a ton of scenes
with various characters. Like, we're not talking about just the 3 main and then a couple, like 2 or 3 additional.
We haven't even talked about the hey, Peter man, turn on channel 9. They're doing the breast exam again.
Okay, so legitimately, be serious. How many times did you laugh out loud during this movie? Because I laughed out loud one time. The entire movie. I chuckled quite a bit.
Probably.
But I laughed out loud once, and I will say that one scene that I think was the funniest scene in the movie was when Orlando Jones comes to the door and he knocks on the door.
I knew you would think that. He's like a robot. Thank you.
Looking up.
I used to be addicted to crack.
And it turns out
but now I'm not, and I'm selling these magazines. Would you like a
He's laid off from a software company.
That scene where he's standing at the door telling him that he came from a bad neighborhood and that he used to be addicted to crack, and he won't look him in the eyes is so funny to me for some reason. I was laughing out loud. My kids came into the room, wanted to know what I was laughing at.
No, the two chicks at the same time is one of my most quoted. And I always laugh at that one. You know what I do? Two chicks at the same time.
Dietrich Bader said that, and we didn't discuss it too much, but the fact that the movie was a bomb, but then later it started hitting on DVD sales and DVD rentals. And Dietrich Bader was driving somewhere, and some guys pulled up next to him. They're like, "Hey, man, what would you do for $1 million?" He's like, two chicks at the same time. And he's like, he kind of looked over the person who's in the car with them. He's like, "Oh, that's from Office Space." And I don't know, maybe something's going on with it. He was surprised. He thought it was like maybe the two people that saw the movie.
That's funny.
That's my fans right there, both of them.
The virus planted scene.
The handoff where it looks like the drug deal.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah. And you got Michael Bolton's, his face kills me when he's, it just zooms on his face and it just scans and he's disgusted at the girl with the high-pitched voice. I love that face. I just love the whole...
One thing I wanted to say about that scene, and this is I noticed maybe on this viewing, is they get Samir involved, but it seems like Michael Bolton created the software. All Samir does at one point is just hands it off to
he's the middleman
to Peter.
It's because they share a cubicle, man. That's a bond that you cannot break.
And then Peter is the one who actually uploads it. So I was like, what did Samir actually do in this whole situation?
Not gonna work.
He had to occupy the high pitched woman,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They never...
Just a moment. Oh, and the Mondays? Oh, dude.
Okay, that's good.
That's a great... Yeah. And that one is also one, that I repeat, monthly. Somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
I mean, the Bobs are great.
The Bobs are great. Like McGinley, who was in Scrubs.
I just love him.
Oh, shit.
When he gets so upset when
just call me Mike.
Just call me Mike. And just the look on his face.
Oh. And the other one though is when they say when they're saying that Peter might need to be upper management.
When they turn on the boss. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And Lumberg's like,
he is a straight shooter with upper management written all over.
John C. McGinley gets this look on his face like he's just ready to fight somebody.
He's like, no, I'll handle this.
I got this.
And he's pissed.
Oh,
we
classic
think
moments.
that he is not properly motivated. And we haven't even really talked about Lumberg, right?
Gary Cole,
which
is good.
So
very fucking cool.
Good.
I will admit that he is very good. And the way he asks him, "How's it going?" He never lets him actually answer the question.
Hey, Peter. And just looks so slimy and so...
Literally slimy when he's in the dream sequence with the very Vaselined up chest hair. That is his best part.
That coffee cup. Oh. And he's got that terrible coffee breath all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
So one of the things I would definitely ask the director is, how did you manage to make Jennifer Aniston, prime Jennifer Aniston, so unattractive during most of the movie? I feel like she does not look great, and maybe that's...
But see, I actually think he's playing... No, I think he's playing it that way. Like, she plays it as kind of a plain... I don't think she doesn't look great, but she's playing it like a plain Jane waitress that's kind of underwhelming.
She's away from the restaurant, I thought she's...
she looks
super cute.
She looks cute, but I like it that she's played exactly the right way for me in this, which is she's not supposed to be kind of overly over the top.
They all think she's a smoke show at the party. They're like,
exactly.
Who's with her?
He's his dream. She's his dream girl. You know what I mean?
I mean, let's see. Lumberg fucked her.
He starts naming off numerous people after he says Lumberg too. Yeah. It kind of fades out of his voice, and he's on the fourth person when it fades out.
Such a total whore.
Actually, I never considered the fact that I got distracted by the fact that it wasn't the right Lumberg, but that he said that she got around.
Yeah.
I never really came back.
Oh, yeah. He hyper focuses on Lumberg, but
right, but that he actually knew that it was her and her.
I worked in a restaurant, with some of the ladies.
Yeah.
Like to get around a little bit.
Yeah, well, all you had to say was, "Come over and watch Kung Fu." Go time.
That was another problem I had, was that the manager being a dick to Jen Aniston. There is zero chance that the manager would do anything but hit on Jen Aniston at any time during her employment.
You know
at
that's
Tchotchkes.
Mike Judge, right?
Oh, really?
That is Mike Judge.
That's Mike Judge.
What?
So that was
the Tchotchkes manager.
Oh, wow.
I've worked with a lot of restaurant managers.
We want you to express
They do
yourself
not
here.
say anything negative to good-looking females. It is 100% positive. Maybe I could fuck this female at some point. And the fact that he's criticizing
Apologies
her
to
and
all the
saying things.
restaurant managers out there.
Yeah. Both of our listeners that are restaurant managers, they're all like, yeah, we would have been trying to hit on Jen Aniston too.
Yeah, the Mike Judge, when he's speaking, there's a few little moments you can hear Van Driesen in his voice, who's the teacher from Beavis and Butthead. You can catch it when you watch it if you're a Judge fan like me. He starts a little bit of Van Driesen.
Okay.
All right.
What else?
A lot of Beavis and Butthead fans here.
I've been exposed.
Anything else we want to ask Mike Judge or point out? When we're...
I'd like to see his take on our world the last 5 years. I'd like to see his personality, his way,
probably will see it.
his take on it, like during the Trump administration, COVID, whatever he wants.
Well, isn't
to
that
do.
Silicon Valley? Isn't it pretty topical?
No, but I mean, like a movie, if he's gonna take, he can't take it much further than Idiocracy did.
I was just gonna say he already.
So
made
he's gonna have to pull it back. But his take on like an Office Space today, like
think
a
he's
more.
disappointed that
Do
he.
you guys mean his documentary Idiocracy?
Yeah, I was gonna say. You think he's disappointed that he hit the nail really hard on the head, like in several things?
Yeah, right.
All right. So,
have you guys all seen Idiocracy? Sorry, Nate.
Oh yeah.
Has everyone seen it?
Yeah.
Does
It's
everyone like
disturbing.
Love it.
I love
100%.
It's
love it.
really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna move on here from the director to our Shag Snag body bag, which we used to open with, but I like having it now. So we've kind of thrown out a bunch of stuff, but you gotta zero in on what you love, what you just want to have again in a hot moment, and what you want to get rid of. I guess I said the wrong word. So what's your Shag? What do you want to just like? What do you want sort of hot and heavy? What do you want to keep from this movie? And what do you want to get rid of? Okay, so where are we at?
I don't know if this really counts as a Shag, but working as a waiter. I mean, man, it was really some of the most fun times that I've had. I was literally just having a talk with Nate's wife the other night about, people look down on, working in a restaurant and the profession and whatever, and this movie depicts it as this terrible existence. And I like to think that Jen Aniston was much happier once she moved over to Shooters or
Flingers.
Flingers. Yeah, when she was working at Flingers. But man, it was a great time. I had several restaurant jobs in my life, and I want to talk about it later in my streaming recommendations when I'm going to recommend that everybody watch the 2005 movie Waiting.
Good call.
But man, it was just a really fun time. I feel like it doesn't really get its due. Maybe Tchotchkes was super lame. But or maybe Jen Aniston was too old to really
Where'd
appreciate.
you work, Zach?
I worked at Bubba Gump's on Cannery Road in Monterey.
Right. That's right. I forgot.
And it was very, we didn't really have pieces of flair, but we definitely were wearing shirts that said "Run Forrest Run" and had to do Bubba Gump, Forrest Gump trivia with every table that we had. So it had a little bit of that cheesiness factor to it. But man, it was a fun time. And that's my Shag. I don't know if that really counts as a Shag for this movie, but I liked it. It kind of brought me back. Some of it did.
Before I get into my Shag, I got to back up what you're saying there, because I as well worked in a restaurant and met my wife at the restaurant I worked at, and so we both had a lot of restaurant experience. And our restaurant just recently closed down, and there was a Facebook group of just friends who all worked at the restaurant. And there was like 300 comments of just talking about all the fun times that we had at that restaurant in our formative years. I mean, young people without kids, with money in their pockets.
Exactly. You leave every day with cash money in your pocket, and maybe you spend all $300 in tips you made that night at the bar that same night, but it happened really
often.
fun. Yes.
Or you go to the local casino and you spend half of it, or you make some money, and it's just, it was a great time. Absolutely.
Were you at a place that had really good food where you would get comped if you had a good night? Where maybe did the manager ever like give you?
We could talk about vulture food, which is like maybe the greatest thing ever.
Yes.
Where I would legitimately at times be walking around with a tray on my hand, grabbing at some cheese fries, stuffing them into my face as I come around the corner to go bring you your food.
Yeah. We had bomb I worked at a steak and seafood joint in Southern California, on the water, like in the harbor, and bomb food. And every once in a while on a good night, manager's like, you know what do you want?
Really?
And like Hawaiian ribeyes and like
you had
like
cooler
tuna
managers
stacks.
than me.
Well, the key was getting in with the back of the house, because back of the house would make special stuff every once in a while, and you could, if you were cool with them, you could get in on some of the little creations they would make.
So in our Aloha system, you could order food for any table you wanted. So you would just go order a steak for table 6, which was not your table that did not order a steak. When the steak showed up, they would say, "We didn't order this steak," and you'd say, "Oh, my bad," and you'd take it back to the back of the house, and you'd eat that steak, and it was absolutely delicious.
We had all paper system when I worked there, so there was ways you could get free apps for sure.
Just like
drop
table
the pink
6 ordered
slip,
it,
and then that ticket disappears, and you're good to go.
Exactly.
All right, so you guys are all thieves.
Yeah,
that was one of the more moral things I did at the restaurant.
Yeah. My shag though goes to I mean, this is maybe his iconic role, but god damn, this guy, you look at his IMDb, it's like a mile long. It's insane between all the voice work he's done and just a shit ton of roles. Stephen Root is just an amazing guy that's been in so much. You see him so often in different things, and every time he plays a role, he kills it, like just annihilates it. And of course, Milton is him looking at his worst, but he just one of the most memorable characters maybe of all time.
The difference between him as Milton and as the guy in Get Out. You remember him as the guy in Get Out?
Blind guy in Get Out. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He's a cartoon character in in most movies. He changes and morphs into all these things with different twangs and accents and
terrible skin condition,
disabilities, and
Dodgeball. He's like the timid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's great in that.
Oh brother, where art thou?
Oh brother, where art thou? Yeah, that's a. Oh yeah,
that's a mighty good song to lick in or whatever it is.
Oh, we got to think about the constituencies.
I have the soundtrack. I put Ghetto Boys, but then you got Ice Cube, and I think that's what makes this movie cool. I mean, without this soundtrack, after I saw this movie, I put Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangsta on like road trip mix.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought it was such a cool, and it just the juxtaposition of that music with such a square environment and the topic couldn't have been more perfect. I thought it was a great kind of marriage of two opposite things. So, and I think it's a completely different movie, and it doesn't work without it. So,
but he's acting like a gangster when that song's playing, right? It's a montage of him doing all the gangster stuff.
But there's a lot more rap than just that movie where they're not doing gangster stuff.
Yeah, and then he turns the music down when the guy comes by.
Exactly. Michael Bolton, who just loves gangster rap.
His name's Michael Bolton. Yeah, so I'm going to shag the rage against inanimate things. So, like, for me, like, that just really resonates. Like, I get really angry at, like, spills and traffic and, you know, packages that I can't get open. And
but somehow you've never been arrested or anything like that. You actually you keep your composure. As irate as I know you get.
I get ragey, but I have not been yet arrested yet. I was just telling Nick the other day that I feel like there's going to be some moment at which I make that mistake and I end up in the
line shall be crossed.
I am going to
end up in the pokey.
Things are going to go poorly for me at some point. Just mark my words.
I feel like that would be a very deep downhill slide if that does happen.
What do they call it? What do they call it, Nick?
That just came out where he plays a road rage driver, and he follows, I think, a woman for the entire movie.
I don't think it's going to be road rage, but I'm not saying that's out of the question.
Is Nate going
your hate of traffic?
Is Nate going to end up in the, what do they call it, the butt rape prison or whatever?
federal
pound me in the ass prison.
Yes, exactly.
No, I definitely and I like when I get in traffic, I literally start to go in the process of like, I'll look around and be like, where the fuck are you going? Why do you think it's important for you to be on the road right now? Go the fuck home. Like I'm like super pissed.
Dude, I saw a tractor
rash.
trailer pulling a bunch of cars. Like it had like one of the ones that has all the cars in the back. And we were stopping for food on our way home from a place, and I can hear this guy yelling, and he's yelling all sorts of obscenities. And I see it's coming from this truck, and there's a guy that had pulled into the fast food joint where we were going, and he's just going off. And then he stops his truck in the middle of the road, a pretty damn busy road, Highway 33 between like Santanella area. And he jumps out of the truck, and he's like, I can't park my truck right here, but you come over here right now, I'll whip your ass. Like, was just going nuts. And this guy's in the parking lot just kind of looking at him like, really, man? And he stood there for maybe 30 seconds and then finally got in his truck and continued driving. But
I needed to get that load delivered. I don't know.
he was aggressive. I'm Nate. I hope you don't ever get to that point.
Probably not in traffic, but no promises on almost every other dimension. Okay, so Snag. What are we going to snag from this?
So Brad, he talked about Stephen Root. I just said that guy dream team that this movie kind of is of, and and guys, so at this point Scrubs had not come out, so McGinley, who was gold in Scrubs, and carried Scrubs, but the friends, between the friends, Lawrence, Diedrich Bader, who ended up was how many seasons on Drew Carey Show,
and Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah. Stephen Root, which like Brad talked about, but just the ultimate. Is he considered a character actor? Is that the definition, or is he something completely?
I would say he's definitely
different?
a character actor.
Yeah. Okay.
He's not the leading man
right.
in anything.
Right. Not method character. Right.
Yep.
Gary Cole, Richard Reel. So that was the guy who got in the car wreck and was paranoid. Not in a lot, but him in that movie, just small enough role. So all just the supporting cast: Joe Bays, the Bobs, right?
The other Bob.
The O-face Drew, and then the cameo by Orlando Jones, a young Orlando Jones.
Best part of the movie.
Granted, no huge names, but the parts and characters that they play, I feel like Livingston needed that.
The neighbor. What about the neighbor too?
That's
DJ
Bader. That's
you
Lawrence.
said him. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
that's the thing. A lot of them have been funny in other things in different roles and things like that.
And all of them, none of them necessarily can carry a movie by themselves, right?
Right.
But in these little snips and little moments are great. And when pieced together in an hour 29 minutes, I think Livingston needed that to carry him through 100%. So the dream team of that guy characters. That's what I have as my snag.
All right, my snag. I've been waiting for this because Zach kind of got me soured earlier. He's not a Mike Judge fan, and I can respect that. I gotta say though, Mike Judge at different times in my life, and this is what I like about Mike Judge. Different times in my life, he's created some of my favorite comedy entertainment. I was a gigantic Beavis and Butthead guy. I will say King of the Hill, while I've enjoyed it at times, not a huge fan of that. But then you get Office Space. You get Extract, which I actually really liked. You get Idiocracy. And then he does Silicon Valley. And I'm like, the beauty of Mike Judge to me is being able to look at the small details of life, the humanity, just the Americana, and just hit it on the nose a couple times, like playfully, not like aggressively mean, but just at the same time, like he's able to satire things, but with like actual real life, like where you can connect with it. So like Beavis and Bud, to take an example. There's some of the teachers that are in the school, some of the friends that they have that they hang out with, they all seem like kind of real people. It's a cartoon, but at the same time, there's like a reality that he's able to always kind of just put his finger on, that, you know what, this is kind of what humanity's like, and I think people will resonate with this, and I feel like he's done that throughout his career.
Do you agree that when you looked at his IMDb after watching this and preparing for this, that you thought, man, this is a much narrower scope than I thought that Mike Judge would have? Didn't you think that he was in much more stuff, or that he was involved in much more stuff? I thought there was going to be a big long list of stuff, and I was going to be like, oh yeah, but man, it wasn't as broad as I thought it was going to be.
I pretty much am usually checking out most things that Mike Judge's name's attached to, and so I guess not. It is small. I see what you're saying. When it does seem small, but King of the Hill's been going for a long ass time. There's a lot of things he's done that have had quite a lot. I mean, if you're doing Office Space, you're spending 6 years of your life, 7 years of your life doing Office Space. So it's like you can't really do much when you're the showrunner of a big, huge HBO show. So, I mean, I don't know.
Silicon Valley was 50.
Office Space? Oh, Silicon Valley.
What did I say?
Office.
I meant Silicon Valley. Yeah.
I mean, if he took 6 years to make that movie, I got questions.
So,
yeah, for real.
So I'm snagging in this movie the weight of expectations and the freedom of getting rid of them. And I think this is something that, for me, right, is a great lesson that the movie teaches us. And it's not that he, in the end, is like, fuck all the expectations, right? He cares enough about what hurting Jennifer Aniston's feelings to like come around, and he obviously goes and holds down a job, right? He's not trying to get away from all of it, but he sort of, the philosophical, I think, take of the movie is like, if you aren't analyzing and asking questions about why you're spending your time the way you do and why you're reacting to the people that you're reacting to the way you are, you end up being just a sort of robot, right? And you go through, with a lot of unhappiness, right? And so I love that about this movie, and I think it's a great lesson, right? Mixed in with just a bunch of really funny comedy and a lot of lines to repeat is this really important lesson of like self-reflection, and that sort of, I think, plagues, as demonstrated by just how many people hate their cubicles, right? It plagues a lot of, people around the world. So there you go. Well, there's my overly serious take on Office Space. Okay. We still got, Zach, you haven't got your snag.
So my snag is really easy, and it's going to sound shitty at the beginning, but I'm going to snag nothing from this movie. And what I mean by that is the biggest overarching theme, and the thing that really resonated with me with this movie was when he sits there and he tells him, I would do nothing. What would you do if you had $1 million?
Do nothing.
I would do nothing. And that really I really identify with that. And it's something that I actually struggle with in my life, because any time that I have any free time, I know I should go do stuff and be productive and do things, but all I want to do is drink a beer and sit on the couch and do nothing. I spend my life doing a lot of stuff, and man, that really resonated with me. And I'm think,
so with you on this.
Yeah, I really think that I would turn into a giant piece of shit if I did have millions of dollars.
But I don't think. But I think this is the point, right? Is like in the end of the movie, he doesn't do nothing.
Right.
But as a contrast to the life that he's living, nothing is the best fucking thing.
Yes. Nothing just sounds so nice sometimes.
So nice, dude.
Because I don't work in a cubicle. I have an office, but it's pretty cubicle-ish, and I'm doing a lot of office work. And man, just sitting at home on my couch feels so fucking good sometimes. You know what I mean? With nothing to really think about.
Nothing to do, nothing anyone wants you to do, nothing you have to get done, just a day. Just a day of whatever.
Exactly. And I have guilt afterwards that I did nothing, but goddamn, it feels good when you're doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. You did it, bud.
All right. What are we going to body bag? What do we want to get rid of?
Yeah, so my body bag, and this goes back to just us watching this trailer a minute ago, is movie marketing. How does a film bomb so badly in the theaters, but then absolutely resonates with people afterwards? And I think it's all the marketing team's fault, because it's a tough movie to market. I will give them that it would have been. It's a weird one to try to get people to say, "Hey, go watch this movie about this guy who hates his life and he hates working in an office, but he does some funny shit." Like, I mean, it's really kind of a tough one to get out there. But they obviously dropped the ball, because the movie did terrible at the box office, then kills it on DVD sales. I think at one point, whatever company owns it, it was like one of their 5 all-time DVD sales was Office Space. So, I mean, made it huge on the back end. So I think just body bagging whoever was in charge of trying to figure out how to sell this movie, because they did a shit job. Everybody should have saw it in the theater, but eventually they did see it.
What year did this movie come out?
99.
I think this was the perfect sweet spot for DVDs too.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
100%. Everybody was getting a DVD player by this point, and they rent it, they tell somebody about it, they go rent it, and then people start buying it. And I think everybody I knew in college had this movie.
When you're in college, there's always somebody that's like, oh, watch an Office Space in the dorm room. Let's get stoned and watch it.
Nick was ordering DVDs he hadn't seen like by the dozens.
I had started
blind
at 99,
buying
yeah.
DVDs like by the crate.
I had started. I
say
was very deep into it then.
I'll say this is the one movie that I bet a lot of people say they saw it in the theater and they're complete bullshitting.
I did
not
not
see
did
it.
not.
I think it was out for like 2
Definitely
weeks.
didn't. No. That would have cost money, and I didn't have any money. I'm going to take my body bag space to tell a little story about my real cubicle job that I had. So 2001, summer after 2001, I had a job working at a place called MCI, and I had my own cubicle. And this was a place where they were paying $10 an hour. And at the time, $10 an hour was like $5 over minimum wage. And it was really good money. And there was a whole bunch of young kids working there. And the job was, we were being the voice for deaf people. So back in the day, if you were a deaf person, you couldn't text or anything, and you wanted to speak to someone, you would pick up the phone, you would call our service, and then they would type to you, and you would speak whatever they were saying to whoever was on the other side of the line. So literally my entire day consisted of, and it was also, I've got to caveat this with, I probably dealt with in an entire summer working at this place in my cubicle, maybe 15 actual deaf people using the service, because all day long it was 14-year-old kids finding out about this, prank calling, so they would call, and they would get you on the line, and then they would make you call someone, and then they would type in the most terrible sexual whatever they would say, and you had to say what they typed in legally by law. You had to say everything that they would say. And they would make you call, say they would make you call the bank, and you would call the bank, and the bank person would answer the phone, and then they would say, hey, how's it going? And they would type in, hey, how's it going? You'd say, hey, how's it going? And they would say, good, how are you? And then you'd type it back into the guy, and then they would say, I want to fuck you in the ass. And then you would have to say it, and they could, in parentheses, they could put what type of inflection you need to put on. So they could put angry or sad or happy, and by law, because this is a service provided to deaf people, you had to say it exactly how it was. Now, I will preface this by saying I did not have it as bad as a lot of people, because the women that worked there, a lot of times they would call, and as soon as they would hear a man on the other line, they would hang up until they would get a girl, and they would make these women say the most terribly disgusting things that you have ever heard. And they would just, a lot of times they would just call their friend, and their friend would be the other person on the line, and they would sit there for 30 minutes, and they would make this woman say the craziest shit, and they would make them yell out. So you'd be just sitting in your cubicle waiting for a call, and you'd hear like 4 girls behind you, and they'd be making moaning sounds, screaming out obscenities, fuck me in the, you know what I mean? Whatever they would decide to say. It was the most insane shit.
Oh my God.
Do you not have to announce, like, when so you call the bank, like, do you immediately say this is TTI?
This is TTI, exactly.
Okay, so they know, but at the same time they don't know. Okay.
And if they don't hang up on you, because a lot of times they would hang up on you, but a lot of times they wouldn't hang up on you, and they would start the conversation for a good 2 minutes, like totally normal, and then they would start saying some off the wall shit, and then you would start saying like, "What does your asshole smell like? Does it taste good? Let me try it." And then it would say like parentheses sad, and you had to be like, "Oh, your asshole so smelly," and like try and make it sound sad and shit. It was the craziest job that I've ever had, and it was the only time I've ever really sat in a cubicle. So that's my body
Those
bag.
are some fun water cooler talks.
Body
what were you talking about today?
I don't know. I just wanted to tell that story. I wrote down tell MCI story, so that's what I wrote down for my body bag.
I've lost all.
Just think about what a 12-year-old could get a grown woman to say to their friend. Like, I could call Nate and make a girl tell him anything that I wanted in any sort of inflection that I wanted for as long as I wanted. And they would do it for hours.
Nick and Nate follow that.
I'm gonna draw. I mean, I don't. Just drop the mic moment. I don't care. That's what we're looking at.
No, we gotta hear your body bags.
All right.
What do you got?
Okay, I'll go. So the scam that they pulled had to do with accounts and bank account. The building burns, so the bank. So it was like an all-in-one building. So what? That was the 5th floor, the bank. You know what I mean? Like they burned the building, and all of a sudden it's wiped clean. The virus is wiped clean. I guess they don't know how computers, work 100% at that in '99.
They're computer programmers.
Maybe Y2K.
They maybe don't know.
It never explains what Michael Bolton's mistake was. Right. There's no discussion.
He put a decimal place.
He put a decimal. He always does that. That's what he specifically says.
A real big deal, Michael. But yeah, so was my inflection okay?
They do figure it out real quick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, they figure it out super quick. But then they burn the building down and everything's wiped clean. It's all good. Like he's smiling like I'm home free. So that was I was struggling for a body bag and
it's more his letter gets burned because they're maybe not going to be able to figure out who actually did it.
No.
His letter isn't burned. Don't you think Milton takes the letter and he says something at the end about having traveler's checks because he gets all those traveler's checks?
That's right. He took the money.
Yes, he has the money. That's why he's in Tahiti living it up.
He's about to burn the resort down as well.
Because there's salt on his glass.
Put arsenic in the glass.
Specifically said, no salt on the glass.
Big chunky salt.
All I can think about is what I would call and make Zach say if I could.
Oh, Nate's in a whole other world right now. He's got whole transcripts ready.
It would start with ASMR, just sounds.
Okay, now
specifically
smack your lips.
Cool Ranch Dorito crunching noises.
Angry chewing.
Yeah, smack your lips, but do it in a manic, excited way.
I need you to pretend like you're choking on something.
That's story, Zach.
Okay, so I had struggled with this one. I don't want to go and say this is a perfect movie, but there's almost nothing that I want to get rid of here. If I have to pick one thing to get rid of, I think it's going to be the handoff that someone else already marked. I always found the handoff to be actually a little bit distractingly sort of stupid.
The backhand.
Yeah, like I was always like, why do they have to hand it off? Didn't they just show up at the building with it?
Why not give it to him in the parking lot?
Yeah,
it's supposed to be like CIA.
Couldn't they go to the bathroom and just do it without having to do it as a weird handoff in the middle of the fucking aisle between cubicles?
Floppy disk.
Yeah, so I was a little bit down on that, but otherwise, I mean, this movie for me is just, I don't want to, again, not perfect, but man, I really
This
love
episode
it.
of Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by NASCA, the National Association to Stop Cultural Appropriation. Do you love Tupac but can only listen in your car with the windows rolled up? Do you find yourself alienated because your Native American headdress you bought for the Halloween party at the office has everyone offended? Can't figure out why your dreadlocks don't seem to give off the vibe that you're shooting for? NASCA is here to let you know you're not alone. We've helped hundreds of lost white kids who told their parents they were going to be rich rappers only to end up beaten and bloodied when they thought they could sing along at the Lil Wayne concert. NASCA will have you watching NASCAR in no time.
All right, so now we move on to our unofficial Bev sponsor, Cameo.
Super official.
I mean, we do still have, I think, we have a slot, right? If they want it, we can definitely.
They already have
sell
it. They're our
ad
biggest
space.
sponsor.
Our intern is shaking his head, yes.
So it's Cameo.
Cameo, you
just
are
give us a
fully
call,
welcome.
and we will definitely work something out.
All right, Cameo. This is always a fun one, and this movie does have some of our characters are selling themselves on Cameo, and I don't mean to say that in a bad way, because they're going to say a nice greeting to a family member, a friend, something like that. And I'm going to do this a little bit different this time. I'm actually going to tell you which characters are there, and then you guys are going to rank them in order of who is the most expensive, who is the least expensive. So
before you go, I want to guess.
All right, take some guesses.
I just want to guess one guess because I wrote down one guy because I was absolutely sure he's definitely on there, and that's the O-Face guy.
I 100% agreed and thought that was going to be the case.
It's not?
It is not.
He's missing a big paycheck.
Got to be Michael Bolton.
Michael Bolton is correct.
Really? I thought for sure he'd be on like an obscure sketch show or something that I've never heard of that's
Diedrich
like way
Bader.
cool in certain circles.
I thought Diedrich Bader may venture into that, but no Diedrich Bader.
Stephen Root.
Stephen Root, I think
Root's
is
a
way
big star,
big.
bro.
Yeah.
He's Gary Cole.
I still think it's funny how he has that character now in some commercial where he's basically playing the dad from Talladega Nights, but it's not like officially the dad from Talladega Nights. It's kind of weird.
McGinley?
No.
Okay,
no way, John C.
Not Orlando?
No, I thought Orlando Jones might be there too, but no. But
Orlando
we're
Jones is a
down
big
to
star.
The
Samir?
case.
Samir
The
is
case
there.
of the Mondays girl.
I didn't go that far. So Michael Bolton, Samir, and Bob too. So non-John C. McGinley Bob.
Okay.
The shorter Bob?
The shorter Bob. So there's our three. Let's go ahead and rank them in order.
Say that one more time.
We've got Michael Bolton,
Okay.
Samir, and Bob 2. They are the.
So I wonder if there's
candidates.
if there is, or if we can get Cameo to do like a 2-for-1 where you can get both of the coworkers from Office Space to do like a little scene together.
Yeah.
Because I'd pay good money for that.
Michael Bolton and Samir together again.
So we're supposed to rank who's the most expensive to least expensive?
Most expensive, least expensive.
How many of them have been on Broadway?
That is a key factor to know if you are figuring out the cost of Cameo, as we have learned in
Are there
past
any
pods.
Tonys out there?
So I'm going to go against. So I believe that the shorter Bob, it has been in some other things. So I'm going to say
Paul
that
Wilson is his name.
Paul. I say Paul Wilson is the most expensive, and I'm going to say Paul Wilson draws $45.
Okay.
I'm going to say that the most expensive is definitely going to be Samir. I think he's got a large audience. What do you think, Nick?
Why does Samir have a large audience?
I'm going to show my ignorance here and pretend that I think he's Indian, and India may have the largest population in the world or close to it.
Okay. I'm going to go with secondary Bob, too, because I recognized him as well. But as we know in Cameo, that does not mean.
What's your guess
you're
for
gonna be the
price,
most-
Nick? I didn't guess a price. What do you think? He said 45.
And he was saying Paul Wilson would be the top with $45.
I'm going to say Samir is going to demand $125.
That's insane. that's like when I asked my kid how much that thing got cost. And
I'm sorry,
they say,
125 rupees.
It's $1 million trillion.
Do you know that AJ Naidu? I mean, maybe he's a big Bollywood star. We don't know.
That's true.
Thank you, Brad.
That's true.
I don't know, and I don't. Well, first of all, I reject the idea that he's Indian.
I have no
He
idea.
is actually Indian, but in the movie,
Thank you. I knew
in
that.
the movie, he's actually playing a Middle Eastern man.
That's what I thought.
Can we edit out the part where I didn't know that he was Indian and say that I knew that from the beginning? 125 rupees. What do you think, Nick?
$25 for second Bob at the highest.
Okay. So, tied for second place would be Michael Bolton and Bob 2. David Herman, Paul Wilson, each requesting that you spend 40 of your hard-earned dollars to get a message from them.
Oh, it's close. To
I
the price.
personally thought that Michael Bolton, David Herman, who's been in quite a bit of stuff, a lot of comedy stuff, I thought he would be the highest ranked. But no, it is AJ Naidu who plays Samir, and Samir would like $80, double the other two. Double the other two. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That
How many rupees is that?
You guys are underestimating the population of India.
That's true.
A lot of people in India, a lot of people very into Indian actors.
If you look at AJ Naidu, a lot of his roles are Indian roles.
Hilarious that he's playing a Middle Eastern man and doing kind of a racist accent. If he's not Middle Eastern and that's the accent that he's doing.
Yeah, they said the one little thing I read, it said that he worked hard to get a Middle Eastern accent for the movie. I think it was Jordanian is the character, like the characters from Jordan, possibly.
Wow,
interesting.
Deep dive.
So there you go. That's our cameo for the week. 3 characters. That's more than usual.
And I like that format.
Yeah.
We don't usually have so many, so we can't do it. But I say we bring that back.
Alrighty.
Okay, so we're on to streaming recommendations. Typically, we try to make this a recommendation that you can do for, and I'm using my air quotes here, free. Meaning if it's on one of the many streaming services that we all now pay for. I realized, like, back in the day, it was like thought of as the cheap option to like go streaming only. But I have like fucking 12 streaming services now. I swear I pay more now than I used to for cable.
You need more siblings and parents to pay for their share of it.
I rip off plenty, and I still pay too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so streaming recommendations, we try to keep it free with air quotes, but of course, some of us never do that. But anyway,
some of us are sponsored by certain networks.
And you're not. So
let's go around the
Stars
list.
heavy lineup.
What streaming recommendations you got?
So I'm gonna beat Brad to the punch on all and force you guys all to pay prior to Brad, because Idiocracy by Mike Judge is not streaming anywhere, surprisingly.
So what do you have to blind buy the DVD?
You have to blind buy 3. You have to blind rent $3.99.
It was streaming somewhere recently because I watched it.
So I thought it was too.
That's
I was
funny.
searching for it today, and it said I had to rent it. $3.99 Amazon. But yeah, Mike Judge, his other movie, Idiocracy with Luke Wilson, Maya Rudolph, Dax Shepard, Terry Crews playing Mountain Dew Camacho. 2006, yeah, just a very bleak look at the future way down the road, but a very funny look and just completely over the top to the point that it's hilarious in my opinion.
To the point that it's extremely accurate at this point.
and
I don't put some respect. I think it's Hector Alessandre
Mountain Dew
Camacho.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
there might be a 5th one.
I'm crinkling the cookie dough package here. This is my RSA ASMR.
Oh, here we go. That's the bonus ASMR for y'all.
A little cookie dough here.
I mean, it's legit Nestle frozen cookie dough.
Nate is currently drinking straight bourbon and eating uncooked cookie dough.
I think if you glance down to his glass, it looks like he did a little mixology.
I will point out that for all your joking, I went down to the freezer and grabbed myself a square of cookie dough. I came back up, and you would never have seen 3 grown men fucking cry and whine as much as these 3 guys. I want some cookie dough too, and you guys kill me, and I just Jesus. Anyway,
we got fucking
so then I went down and brought the whole fucking package up, and now we got package crinkles in our ASMR moment.
We've been eating. It's been great.
All right, next up.
My recommendation here is, I believe, available on Netflix, and it's been on Netflix for a long time, so I'm assuming it's still there. Some things don't. They disappear, but I don't even get to draft this person in our future draft coming up here in a little while because they are a TV boss. But David Brent, the BBC Office, it's one of the greatest just all time film, TV, whatever. One of the greatest shows I've ever watched, and David Brent just shows what a dysfunctional office can run like. I believe it's a little bit more reality-based than its American counterpart.
False.
A little less absurd, a little bit more human, and I think that's why I kind of resonate with Office Space, because it has that human element. It's not cartoonish, so to speak, and I think that's what the BB Office does the best.
So are you you're a British Office over American Office person?
Like by a billion.
Except that he hasn't seen the American Office, so he can't actually.
I have watched some American Office.
Because I've watched both several times. And man, I think Steve Carell just blows me out of the water.
So I love the British Office. I'm a total fan of it. I think for what it is, it's as good as it gets. But the American Office is unbelievable. The second season of that show is the best season of television, certainly for comedies I've ever seen. And for me, Steve Carell's great, but I think just the whole thing is so good.
Well, that's the difference, though. The American Office is full on absurd American comedy versus the BBC Office is comedy / drama.
Yeah, I think you're right that the BBC Office is more dramatic than the American Office, but I think this is where you not actually having seen the full series is a weakness for you, and it's really
my BBC Office stands right now. They're nodding their heads with me like, Brad, you know what's up.
There isn't anyone in that category with you.
Both of them.
All right. So I'm going to go with. Nick said Mike Judge's other movie, but there are other movies, and I'm going to go with the movie that we talked about earlier, and that is Extract, and it is streaming for free on HBO Max. It's in my queue right now to rewatch for about the 10th time.
Understandably, yeah.
It's really good, and the Bateman makes it that much better. A super great little sneaky cameo from Ben Affleck.
As
the bar owner buddy that's so fucking
I mean, is he
funny,
a drug
dude.
dealer?
Ooh.
We might have to think about that later.
Go ahead and pick him.
So anyway,
Does he sell drugs?
So that's great, but it's just Kristen Wiig's in. I mean, it's a great cast. It's a great cast.
Mila Kunis. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great cast. It's a great premise. It's really funny. Yes, there are things to be sort of criticized here, but you should go if you like Mike Judge. You can't miss this one. So, Extract streaming for quote unquote free on HBO Max.
My pick, which I prefaced earlier, is going to be Waiting, 2005 movie with Ryan Reynolds, who I do not like. I will preface with saying that I do not like Ryan Reynolds. I do not think he's funny. I think he's got great abs, and that's about it.
He does have great abs.
Great abs, great wife. But besides that, not a huge fan of Ryan Reynolds. But that movie is literally made about working at Bubba Gump's, and everything about it is. I will reference my waiter time again because it is very topical for that. That one's streaming on Hulu for free. And the other one is just an easy one. Jen Aniston, my wife, is singularly obsessed with the series Friends, and it is on HBO Max in its entirety. We've watched it literally probably 20 times all the way through, over and over and over again. It's infinitely more funny than anything Mike Judge has ever done. And, man, really, really good.
Going back to your movie Waiting, I believe they do this in the movie, and if I feel like that's the one thing that I just laughed out loud, because if you paid with a credit card at some type of chain restaurant in the 90s or early 2000s, there's a very good chance that your credit card was used to swipe up somebody's butt crack as they were leaning over doing something, as they were walking by going up to pay to run your card. They probably ran the credit card up somebody's butt crack.
Where I will tell you where I thought you were going with that is that if you paid with a credit card in 2001 at your restaurant of choice, your waiter was not happy about that because they had to pay taxes on that tip. 100%. If you paid in cash, that money went straight into their pocket. As far as the government knew, they did not tip you. And you took that money straight to the bar that night.
The wide receivers for the 49ers once screwed over a friend and I so badly. And they paid with a credit card, and we owed a bunch of shit because they.
We talking Terrell Owens? Who are we talking about?
Oh, yeah. T.O. and the whole 49ers receiving crew. They came to dinner at a restaurant, and I think it was like an $800 tab, and they tipped us $7.
Oh!
And I'm a Niners fan. I love the Niners to death, but that was a sad moment in my life.
Just wrong.
Filling out my little checkout sheet that night was
that your most famous people that you served at your restaurant?
That was, yeah. Steve Young was in there a couple times. I never actually got to serve him, but T.O. and the Niners receivers was my.
I've got two. I served the lovely and talented Morgan Freeman.
What?
And I also
Morgan
served
Freeman,
the band, the Presidents of the United States.
No.
And
now,
I will
this a crossover
freely admit that I did not know who they were, and they told me who they were. And I was like, holy shit, Millions of Peaches.
Well, the irony, though, is that Weird Al Yankovic did a cover of Lump, and they did Gump, and they were at Bubba Gump's.
I did not know that crossover, but that is fucking amazing.
She's Gump. She's Gump. She's Gump.
Well, not
She's in my head. I don't think that's how it went, but yes.
It was Gump sat alone on a bench in a park.
All right. So we're going to reshelf it now, or maybe give an alternate ending depending on how you want to go here. So what do you do? I mean, back in the day, right, at Bev's, I can still picture it, You'd go in and you'd walk straight up the middle aisle and to go toward the counter, and on either side there'd be these little A-frame shelves, and on the top of them they'd have the little,
placard,
comedy, drama, thriller, horror.
What's your vibe? What are you feeling?
And so this one's obviously sitting there right there. I can picture it still. It's there sitting on the right-hand side, a couple from the counter on the comedy rack. If you want to pick it up, change it around a little bit and re-rack it, where do you go?
Well, yeah, I don't have an alternate ending. I'm actually going to reshelf this one. I haven't done a reshelf in a while. So what if Office Space was a horror movie? And Peter's good vibes, they wear off, and he realizes it because he was actually hypnotized. So he tries again with hypnotist, and it doesn't work, and he's just depressed again. And he's like, it wore off. I need that feeling back. Like, that was pure. So he starts to wonder, did the hypnotist dying have something to do with it actually working? So he sets up a hypnotist to be killed as he's actually getting hypnotized. And it works. And now all of a sudden he's like, oh shit, to keep this feeling going, I got to figure out how to murder hypnotists while they're hypnotizing me.
Oh, I love it.
And have them die. And so the whole movie is him just trying to keep that good feeling going by killing these hypnotists as they hypnotize them. And
hypnotists
it's
across the country are cowering in their living rooms.
And that's how he does it.
Oh,
so yeah,
good.
I like it.
Stupid but fun.
I like it. So we're gonna reshelf it. I like that a lot, Brad. By the way, I feel like that's really good. It's like the guy
when he has to do it tricky too. He can't just kill him while he's doing it. It's got to be some freak accident. So it's almost like the one of those movies where they everybody's untimely deaths or whatever. I don't
dark comedy.
Yeah, something like that.
I like that a lot.
Series of unfortunate events
for hypnotists.
I'm going to go, we're going to make this into sort of, I don't know if it would be a thriller or what it would be. You guys tell me, but so the movie starts the same. He never gets hypnotized, but at some point they decide that they've figured out, they watch Superman 3 maybe late night. They get real drunk and watch Superman 3 and they're like, shit, this is a fucking great idea. Which is one of the better jokes in the movie, was all the times that they say it's like Superman 3, which is funny. But so they watch Superman 3 and they think, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to rip off this company. So they do it and they figure out how to do it. They then get fired. Then they don't work there anymore, but they've got all this money rolling into the bank account. They get hooked on blow. Maybe they accidentally kill a hooker. I don't know. There's all sorts of zany antics that they can get into, and at some point, they accidentally kill somebody, but whether it's a hooker or whether it's somebody, or maybe it's Aniston. Maybe they finally they impress Aniston with their money at the restaurant. They bring her back. She accidentally dies, and they get caught up with the law, and everything just goes downhill from there, and it comes out into a really, really bleak ending. That's my alternate ending. I like the fact that they get away with it until they don't get away with it, and maybe there's I don't know who would play it. Maybe Baldwin comes in. Maybe Alec Baldwin comes in as like the new, like the hotshot detective who's hot on their trail, and he's just right behind them, and he's really good with computers and figuring out what Michael Bolton did. And much different movie, probably more laughs. I'm not sure. What do you got?
A little pot shot.
I also have thriller / maybe dark comedy. So hang with me because I have a little script here. So, all right. So the movie opens up, and it's Milton walking out of the hypnotist's room. So Milton, immediately that Milton's been hypnotized. You don't know what the effect's going to be. You don't know what he's going to be. Well, after Peter, it shows, so the movie takes off, and then he goes in, his whole spiel about hating his job and everything like that. He gets hypnotized. the hypnotist crawls over, dies, and Peter, he doesn't give a shit about anything, but he's a sociopath and he's basically a murderer, and he's going to create a list of people that he's going to knock off in the office and take out and kill. Well, the movie, the viewer, you see that Milton has the same list and he's going around killing everyone. So every time Peter's ready to kill somebody, that dude's already been killed. Like, he's basically Milton's taking out people before he even knows, but Peter doesn't know that it's Milton the entire time. So as it's going on, like, it gets to be more that Peter is trying to figure out who the other killer of the people in the office is, more than it is actually taking the people out. So he's almost protecting the office rather than looking for the people to kill on his list. So by the time everyone has been knocked off his list that he hasn't killed yet, and it's been Milton, Lumberg's the last one on the list. It ends the same way with the explosion. Peter's getting ready to put a car bomb under Lumberg's car, thinking that this is what's going to get Lumberg at the end. The office explodes. Milton has taken out Lumberg in the office. So Lumberg's crossed everyone off the list. And Peter's like, motherfucker. And it ends the same way with Milton walking out, kind of mumbling, kind of looking back at the office. And Peter looks over at him like, you motherfucker. And then it ends with Peter waking up in his bed and Milton standing over him because Peter was the last one on his list. And it's just Milton, and it's just the view looking up at the bed and Milton comes down with the staples.
I was going to say, kills him with the red swing line.
And it's just credit, and then it's credits.
Love it. So I've got just a really small tweak, but I think it actually makes it a more fun, sort of like slightly darker ending, which is that the place sets on fire. They think they got away with it. So everything's the same at that moment. Then the cops roll up, and it turns out that Milton has turned over the confession letter, but taken the money. So they think that like they've squirreled this money away, right? And they bust him. So the closing scene, instead of it being like at a construction site, they're all doing like prison labor. They're in prison, and like his buddy and his neighbor Lawrence rolls up and is like, "Hey, Peter, man, like, how's it going?" And he's like, "Hey, Lawrence, and like, it's actually not that bad. This is actually, getting a little." So it's kind of the same ending,
like but he's doing like prison work program, like on the side of the road, yeah. And so, and we know he's going to get out, but like he still had this realization that like, man, you really hammer something like even prison work outside is better than being in a fucking cubicle.
I mean, have we all had that thought a little bit? It's like prison where you would have no obligations to anything. Your schedule is just basically set.
Yeah. You take the butt fucking out. It sounds pretty awesome, right?
Jesus.
Hanging with your bros.
I mean, that's what it is, right? You're just chilling. You don't have any obligations.
Right. You've had that thought?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Communal showers. Sounds fucking awesome.
I used to really like, a good shower room, it felt like you were just like wide open.
Yeah. Nate was the most pumped to go to sixth grade camp.
Like Starship Troopers.
He just struts into the shower.
Dick shows up.
Nate's curtain was wide open.
Swinging
Dick shows up 3 minutes before I do, man. You know what I mean?
They had the curtains, and Nate was just whoosh, wide open.
Freaking Dick Root just.
Dick Root for days.
All right. So that's the reshelf it. And now, this episode of Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Tom Smikowski's Jump to Conclusions Mat. You ever find yourself in a situation where you just have enough information to engage in wild speculation and make hurtful, damaging allegations about the people around you, but you're just not sure if it's a good idea? Well, then you need to make the leap and order Tom Smikowski's Jump to Conclusions map. Say you see your boss alone in the copy room with that hot vice president of sales and think, I bet they're fucking. I wonder if I should go tell Becky at the front desk. Well, now you can just hop, and sure enough, the answer is yes. Jimmy bumps your shoulder on the way to the water cooler, and you think, oh, you want to go, Jimmy? You want to go? Let's hit the lot. Do this. Hold up now, bruh. Just leap onto the mat, and bingo, lose your turn. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. So Sheila from HR gives you a double glance that can only mean, let's knock it out in the unisex bathroom. So you make a break for it. Whoa, soldier, you know what to do. Boing, and moot? Wait, what the fuck does that even mean? Tom Smokowski's jumped to conclusions, Matt. It's a horrible, horrible idea. But let's face it, so is everything that you're thinking.
I love that.
Wow.
Say, let's go tell Sheila at the front desk. They're definitely fucking. Say it like it's a fact. Everyone will believe you.
Okay, it is draft time. The time that you've all been waiting for. The time that separates the Nate from the rest of the losers.
I mean, I have a 2-win streak right now.
I got a win with that.
He's got a win.
Yeah.
I'm going to say half a win.
I have yet to have anyone pick mine as a winner of anything, so I plan to keep the streak alive today.
All right.
Zach's looking for a
Zach would take my half win.
All right. Bradley, what is the draft order for tonight? Oh, we should refresh the topic.
Yeah.
Hit click.
Especially since you changed it completely from when we announced it on the last
I was going
pod.
to try to skip past that. I announced it. So I had this in my head last time, and I was like, and then I totally forgot, and I made something up, which was something stupid like best workplaces.
Draft selection.
Yeah, premature.
Draft decision.
Draft
Yes.
topic.
So the draft topic that I chose from the very beginning, I don't know what you're talking about, is the most memorable movie bosses. So we've all had time to prepare. What is the order?
Your random draft order for this draft is in first, we have Nick.
Boo.
Choosing second is Zach.
That's right.
In third is myself, Brandon.
Oh, I like the snaky. I like to take
And
the
on
rapper.
the snaky fakey, we got Nate.
I like to take the rep around. All right, so it's a 4-rounder draft with the snake format, and Sir Nicholas is first. A lot of pressure. Lot of pressure.
It's an easy decision. It's the best pick in tonight's draft. And it's Mr. William Lumberg II.
Oh, so he just went straight for
I'm wearing straight to the concert t-shirt at the concert.
Literally.
First guy to show up. I'm showing up 45 minutes early to the concert with 2 shirts.
Literally didn't even make my list.
This is the guy that yells Freebird at every NSYNC concert.
Well, and Lumberg has the new shirts. And Nick at the concert buys the new shirt as well. And puts it on.
I put it on immediately.
Let's go.
We may have discussed this already, but
I mean, he's a boss, so that's cool.
it's true. Lumberg's best part in this movie is his very oily chest rubbing Jennifer Aniston's raised toes.
Because that's totally Jennifer Aniston.
You think that was her toes?
Absolutely.
Full on toe double.
If it is, I may have to
Mike-
rewind.
100% toe
Mike
double.
Judge's
Might have to rewind that.
and painted toenails.
That was his homage to Quentin Tarantino.
All right.
Zachariah.
Okay, I am going to cockblock my friend Nate, and I am going to go with the big Zuck, Jesse Eisenberg from The Social Network, because I think that was going to be Nate's first pick.
Ooh.
I don't
You guys
even
are-
like him. This is just to cockblock Nate.
You're wrong, and you're wrong.
He's
I didn't
literally
even have-
the boss.
I didn't even have him on my list.
Because you didn't understand the category,
He's on my
or
list. He's on my
it's
list.
literally your favorite movie.
I don't even like Social Network. I mean, I like it.
What?
I like it fine. I like it fine.
My mind is blown right now.
I like it fine, but I'm not like a geek about it.
Haters.
All right.
I'm going to take this rap and shove it down all y'all's employee throats.
All right. So, man, where do I go now? All right. I know where I'm going. This person, he's a character. He is very memorable. His staff is a bunch of small orange people. Well, actually, they might not even be people. We don't exactly know what an Oompa Loompa is. But he decides to create this wacky contest to get people, and then he starts almost murdering a few children in order to get to the final competitor.
Almost.
Charlie.
Definitely murdering.
Oh, it's kind of in between.
Like, tell me that wouldn't make the best like reality show where you get like voted off the island, kind of Willy Wonka multiple
style.
series.
Here's where you lose all your street cred because you have to pick which Willy Wonka you're picking.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely going with the old school Willy Wonka with
I do not
Gene
think that
Wilder.
is
Gene Wilder.
consensus,
Willy Wonka.
but Wilder is
That is the correct answer.
That's the correct answer.
Okay. So you guys all, it's unusual for everybody in the first round to miss the best pick, but that is what happened. Okay. In fact, I would say that you guys didn't even crack the top 3. But I'm going to go ahead and take the top 2 just because I'm not that nice to let it fall. So at number 1, let the record show that this should have been the number 1 pick because you guys suck and are borderline, if not just full-fledged misogynists, is Miranda Priestley.
Never seen it.
The Devil Wears Prada, bro. It's like
the movie was called Miranda Priestley.
Dude, The Devil Wears Prada is like the ultimate boss movie.
We're all aware of your fetish for the dark-haired young woman in that movie.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway.
Have some respect. Fetish.
I forgot her name for a
disrespects. Zach?
I forgot all about that. I should have totally cockboxed you with the Anne Hathaway.
I like that Zach's just trying to blind. He doesn't care at all. Last week, all his picks were for him. Yes. This week, every pick is just to screw me over. I like it.
I thought they were for you out there listening right now.
Okay. At the 5th overall pick and my wraparound number 2, obviously it's Gordon Gekko of Wall Street.
Wow. I think I'm going to get my actual number 1 pick back.
I think I'm going to win tonight.
No, I've got. To be honest, I may have biffed there because the number 3 is really close and maybe a better pick. So
there's a little doubt.
All wrong.
There's about 14 better picks than the girl from Devil Wears Prada, but all right.
You know what? I know her.
That street gal.
I know our listenership. Yeah, Meryl Streep, the hack.
Yeah, I like Meryl Haggard better.
All right, I'm going a little different direction here. Now, my second choice is the boss so evil that they had to clone themselves and create a little mini version of themselves to help them be the badass boss that they are. And that, of course, is Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers series.
I legit didn't have that on my list, and I'm so ashamed because that's such a good pick, Brad. You know, have you guys seen... I just want to throw this out there. Have you guys seen the new movie Barb and Star go to Del Boca Vista or whatever it is?
Right there, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Dude, okay, so... If you guys enjoy Austin Powers, it is a modern Austin Powers movie, and we watched it on the airplane as like there was nothing else to watch. It is so freaking good, and Kristen Wiig plays the main character, and she plays the bad guy, and it is an Austin Powers movie. It's literally cut for cut.
Okay,
it's very good.
Right.
But anyways, I digress.
And
trailer looks funny. Yeah,
and my pick. This was my true one of one. I was trying to cockblock Nate, but it seems I didn't have to because Jordan Belfort, Leonardo DiCaprio from Wolf of Wall Street.
That was my number 3.
In an amazing performance. He's not necessarily being a boss at the time, but
he is
when it shows him going out to his car and getting in his car when he's messed up on drugs, and then it shows what he thinks happens and what really happens is one of the better scenes that I can remember. It's really, really good stuff.
That's a good pick.
What you got, Nate? Or who's next? Nick's next.
Nick with a wraparound.
All right. So
8th and 9th overall.
I don't know if I'm staying in comedy for all my picks, which would be a shift from my my pattern. But, you know, all Rachel Phelps really wanted to do was move the Cleveland Indians, you know, to Florida and make something of his team. But Rachel Phelps from, let's see, Margaret Whitten, Major League, Rachel Phelps.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Margaret.
R.I.P.
Damn, I didn't have that on my list.
I did not know that.
Not on my list, and that makes me very sad. Yes, that's a good pick. Really good pick.
And then coming around to, she's a dirty girl in this flick.
Dude, he's going to take it.
She plays Julia Harris, the naughty dentist. Naughty dentist.
That's a good
Jennifer Aniston, Horrible Bosses.
Solid pick.
She looks so much better in that movie than she does in this movie in Office Space.
Just because she's
a
little filthy.
What's the difference in when
15 years? No.
Is it really
20?
It's got to be at least 15 years.
About 20 years. 19, 18 years.
No, Horrible Bosses though is like what?
2015. Maybe.
Oh,
about
okay.
15 years.
15 years.
Okay.
15 years later, I think she looks much better than she does.
She hardly changed though. I mean, honestly, like she's a real timeless one.
I think she did Horrible Bosses right before she had some work done on her face, and I think that's the difference. She still could make some expressions, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
Is it my turn?
It sure is.
All right, we're gonna go with a movie that I just watched for literally probably the 5th or 6th time. We're gonna go with Sergeant Dignan, played by Mark Wahlberg from The Departed. And I don't know if you guys have seen The Departed.
Wait, does he count as a boss?
He's a sergeant.
He's literally their boss.
He is
Sergeant's boss. Isn't Sergeant a boss?
Martin Sheen was the boss of that.
I had Martin Sheen, but I don't like him as much as I like Wahlberg, and Wahlberg's the boss in that.
You can pick. I mean,
I told you guys I was going with the Nick Brown.
Boss of somebody.
No,
he's the boss of the entire team of undercover agents.
I'm in charge of a team at my school. I would not call myself the boss.
Have you seen the movie?
Well, no. I know.
Are we going to say that's? Are we going to disqualify that pick? Because I got plenty more.
No. You've made it. You're locked in.
What's his last name? Sergeant what?
Dignan. Dignan.
I love the character, by the way.
You taking the Nick Brown pick?
As
we
a
said
mid-level employee.
Memorable bosses. He is definitely in charge of the undercover people. He may have a boss above him.
A boss, bro.
Every boss also has a boss, guys. We're not saying
he took it as
he's the boss of DiCaprio in that movie. He straight up dresses him down so bad in the very beginning.
See, I looked at Dick Jones for RoboCop, and I was like, that dude's not a boss. He's like an executive who works for the boss.
So Martin Sheen is the boss.
Just because you have a boss doesn't mean you can't be a
Martin
boss.
Sheen was Wahlberg's boss,
right?
Until he died.
So
and then
is Alec Baldwin not a boss?
Balanced. Mark Wahlberg got fired by Alec Baldwin. I see when Martin Sheen died, he came in, got in a fight with Matt Damon, and he fired him. So he was never the boss of that crew, DiCaprio.
I need to mute my headphones right now.
You should definitely watch this movie.
I know. No, for sure I should see
How
it.
have you not seen The Departed? You have no we have no
I'm
sympathy
sorry.
for you.
I lose track. I didn't remember that.
Why would we remember that? Who would not see The Departed? We have no sympathy for you.
I know, that's fine. Let's move on. For you. I got to make a pick here, so
we can let Zach.
New name of the podcast is Spoilers. Spoiler alert.
Man, there's a few I want to go from right now, but we're going to go this way. Okay. So, I mean, this guy is the ultimate boss, the ultimate evil. He's the boss of all that is bad. But in the movie, he goes by the name of John Milton. You wouldn't think of John Milton being that big of a deal of a name. But when you know who he actually is, he's the fucking devil.
Dude.
Devil's advocate, John Milton.
That's
Al Pacino just going psychotic in a movie. And it's amazing. It's not even a reach.
I had it.
Holy shit!
I had it on my top
pick.
5.
That's an unreal reach.
The guy dominated John.
Okay, the fact that this fell to me is delightful. So I'm going to go here with which one though?
So two came to you.
Well, so there's two that are essentially interchangeable, but I got to go with Don Corleone. I got to go with the original Godfather.
Yeah, I got you.
Right? I mean, it could have been Michael, but it's got to be Don.
Who here has not seen Godfather
Donnie,
again?
What corporation does he work for? That he's the leader and the boss?
Well, he works for the Corleone Family Incorporated, I believe.
Corleone.
Corleone.
Eh.
Corleone. Okay, and you know what? I'm gonna go. I really like. I'm feeling. I'm gonna burn my man bra. I'm going full
chick flick.
I'm going full feminist.
You going Bridget Jones?
Vito Corleone. You're just gonna double barrel it.
Vito.
Jane Lynch's character as the floor manager in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Skadoosh.
That wasn't on my list, but I like that
She's
a lot.
so good.
That's a good.
And you know what? Hardcore sexual harassment in the most gentle way.
Do we know her character's name? Do we got that?
I will look it up.
Oh man, that's a damn.
I like her better as a boss in the not I Love You Man, but the one where he and Sean William Scott.
Oh, she's like the parole officer.
Yes,
they went and checked.
I guess she maybe not a boss.
Also not a boss.
Zach's
in the hierarchy of things. She's probably in charge of someone.
Her name is Paula. Paula, I'm really excited about telling you something here today. If you play that Michael McDonald clip one more time, I'm going to take a gun out and shoot everybody in the store.
All right.
Oh,
gosh, I could go two ways here. I think this is how I'm going to finish it.
There's a lot of ways you could go.
All right, so it takes a pretty dickish boss to be mean to Kermit the Frog. But Michael Caine decided to do that as Ebenezer Scrooge in The Muppets Christmas Carol.
That's the Scrooge you're picking?
He was a dick. He was a straight dickhole to Kermit the Frog who did not deserve it. And he learns his lesson in the end, of course. So I'm going with Ebenezer Scrooge from The Muppets.
A lot of people played Scrooge. We're going with Michael Caine.
I can't find that one on my list. I'm looking, but it must be.
It's deep.
I'll find
it.
Deep in the anals of your list.
People who know, and they say, "Fuck Michael Caine. He's an asshole."
So mean to puppets.
Fuck Michael Caine.
Michael Caine hates
blasphemy,
especially poor puppets.
Zach.
Okay, guys.
Your last pick, your last chance for glory.
A lot of my picks have come off the board, which I'm a little bit upset about. But so I had some picks that I know you guys aren't going to pick, but I knew that the category was memorable bosses, and so I was trying to think of some memorable scenes, and I'm going to go with Alec Baldwin as Blake and Glengarry Glen Ross when the guy's getting coffee and he says, "Coffee's for closers." He's like,
"Coffee's for
A, B, C, always be closing. A, idea." He's got so many good lines just in that scene.
And it's fire because he's only in the movie for like
15 seconds or whatever, however long.
2 minutes or whatever. He comes in. And that's the thing is like, I know that part of that film, but I've never seen the actual film. So it's like that scene resonates outside of even watching the movie.
Exactly. Very quotable, very rewatchable scene. I am going with Mr. Baldwin.
I would point out that that's the second pick that is questionable as a boss.
Yeah, maybe
he's kind
consultant
of
literally
kind of like a
literally in charge
salesman.
Literally in charge. He's definitely in charge.
All right, Nick, finish this off for us, man. Finish this off.
All right, which I haven't seen. Glengarry Glen Ross. Haven't seen it.
It's not that great actually, but it's okay.
We should just call this pod like haven't seen it. It comes up every podcast. Hey, I haven't seen that.
This is a podcast about movies where we actually haven't watched any movies, so we're just going to talk about stuff.
We just said that we haven't seen The Godfather or The Departed, so we should just
as a collective we.
You could take my brother's advice from the last pod.
Just
only watch
movies you've already seen. It's a tricky loop to get out of.
All right.
So I'm finishing this off.
Yeah. All the bosses to pick from.
So Mr. Harry Knuckles, Mr. Scientology himself, Tom Cruise as Les Grossman, Tropic Thunder.
Good call.
Throwing heat.
All right, Bradford, give us the rundown. Give us the teams again.
All right, so to finish out this draft, we have Team 1 with Bill Lumbergh from Office Space, Rachel Phelps, Major League, Julia Harris, Horrible Bosses, and Les Grossman from Tropic Thunder. Team 2, Mark Zuckerberg, Social Network, Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, Sergeant Dignan, The Departed, and Blake from Glengarry Glen Ross. Number 3 has Willy Wonka from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Dr. Evil from Austin Powers, John Milton from Devil's Advocate, and Ebenezer Scrooge from The Muppets Christmas Carol. And finally, Team 4 rounds it out with Miranda Priestley, Devil Wears Prada, Gordon Gekko, Wall Street, Don Corleone, Godfather, and Paula, the Boston 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I just realized what Nate has done. We have a female judge for this draft, and he very strategically has picked.
It really was.
It very much was.
It really was. Yes, it was.
So I got at least one other big
Who you got?
name female on there that I almost picked, but I was gonna
give it to us. Who you got?
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore from Disclosure. Yeah,
another good sexual harassment. I like the ladies just letting them know what they want.
I was deciding Terry Benedict, Ocean's 11, casino owner.
That qualifies.
That's pretty memorable boss.
So another Horrible Bosses, Bobby Pettit, one of the other bosses from Horrible Bosses.
Yeah. Yeah.
great.
So you got him, Colin Farrell.
The boss in Fight Club. His name's Richard Chesler, but he's pretty memorable.
Shit.
I had him as narrator's boss, played by Zach Grinner, and he's not so memorable. Like that's such a memorable scene, but you don't really think about the boss, so I didn't pick it.
Mr. McMillan from Big.
Ooh, that's
Okay.
Tom Hanks' boss.
Doing a little dance on the piano.
Oscar
I love
Schindler. Schindler's List.
I got Schindler. Mm-hmm. I like that. What about Hugh Grant from Bridget Jones' Diary,
or from Love Actually, where he's the prime minister?
Is he the boss in that too?
That's right.
Oh, he's like
Boss
the president, right?
He's the
boss of all of them. Technically not the boss. It's kind of a.
I guess
He's the boss.
is Alan Rickman a boss? Because he's got the girl that works for him.
Oh, also a good call. Actually, yeah, but both of them. My point is, their storylines in those movies are both about the fact that they're in the boss dynamic.
Right.
Yeah.
That is true. He definitely is abusing his boss-employee relationship.
Tony Stark Industries. That's
Good one. The correct answer from The Departed, by the way, is Frank Costello, Jack Nicholson, not whoever you said.
You really think so? I mean, that's if you're going that like they don't work for a company. I mean, we're literally talking about a movie called Office Space where they work for a company and there's a boss that's in charge of everybody. You can make up your own rules. It's okay.
Mob boss is a term.
Yeah,
that's a term.
Bruce Wayne. Wayne Enterprises.
That's a good one.
Kingsman Secret Service, Samuel L. Jackson as Richmond Valentine. He's got a little list, and he's got a bunch of cell phones that cause one of the most destructive scenes ever in a movie in a church.
Violent. One of the most violent scenes.
I've never seen it.
My wife.
You've never seen Secret?
I've never seen it.
It's good,
dude.
It's entertaining as shit.
My wife
Very entertaining.
liked Jerry Maguire. Help me. Help you.
Yeah. I didn't even think about Maguire as a boss.
Me.
That's a Zach Washburn pick. Like sneaky is.
Wait. Are we saying Cruise is the boss?
Yeah, because he starts his
own company, and he is the boss of one.
Okay, I like that.
Marty Barron from Spotlight. By the way, if anybody, and apologies to the Catholic in the room, but if anybody really wants to just ramp up their hatred for the Catholic Church, just watch Spotlight about every 6 months.
The only problem is that the Hulk's in it, and I hate the Hulk. I just can't.
He's so
stand
good
it.
in that, dude.
Terrible.
It's such a good.
Professor Umbridge ends up running Hogwarts, and she's a pretty memorable.
I can't believe that Dumbledore didn't get picked. Really, with this crew.
Frankly, the fact that we ever don't have a pod without a Harry Potter pick. I mean, there's everything in it.
I think you should get a bonus one vote if you pick a Harry Potter character.
We're gonna be like best sports movies. Harry Potter, the Quidditch.
We also missed
catch that snitch.
We missed a couple of good editor-in-chiefs, both for the Washington Post, Marty Barron I'm sorry, not both for the Washington Post. Marty Barron and then from the earlier Ben Bradley's character from
All the President's Men.
Yeah.
Did you say also the Globe? That with Tom
yeah,
Hanks
Marty
too?
Barron is from the Globe
because he's the same character, right?
Yeah, Marty Barron. He's
That's
based on the real person. I think he eventually was editor of the Post, but I misspoke. Yeah, in the movie, he's
both not real newspapers, right?
What?
Oh wait, sorry.
All right. Okay, so that's a rundown. So next up, we're going to have Katie on to declare me the winner and discuss the other picks. But in the meantime, Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by...
This episode of Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by the Bob's Business Consulting. Is your workplace bloated with shiftless layabouts who do nothing all week except cash a paycheck? Do you have too many middlemen using assistants and secretaries to do their actual work? Do you want to pump up your stock holdings so you can afford that new Porsche? Then look no further than the Bob's Business Consulting. Within a few weeks, we'll weed out the weaklings and toss out the trash. On a Friday, of course, for less chance of an incident. Your personal stock shares will soar a bunch as a bunch of lousy workers' rent money and child support payments magically transfer to your 401k. And the Bobs will always have a witty statement ready as they remove another do-nothing chode your business will never have to pay again. Bob's Business Consulting. Because workers suck.
Do-nothing chode.
Okay, we are back for judging, and for the judging, we welcome Katie from Baltimore, except you're in D.C. right now. Hello, Katie.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
It is late. It is midnight, and Katie has been part. And so today, here's the way this went. At 1:30 today, I sent an email to Katie with the Zoom link. And she was like, "Oh, it's gonna be great. It's cool. We're staying at a hotel, just about to head to happy hour." And I looked at my watch and I was like, "We are not gonna be on with her for 7 hours. How the hell is this gonna go?" But she promised that she would be sober-ish, which I rejected immediately.
Katie, is it sweaty hot over there on the East Coast right now?
Oh,
it's terrible,
so
right?
Gross.
Oh, yeah.
So gross. Yeah. Humid all the time.
Yes.
Ugh.
Okay.
Yep.
So Sweaty Katie is coming to us from the East. Okay, so we've sent you the list. You have evaluated and analyzed this. You've watched Office Space. So before we jump into the draft results, though, you watched Office Space and prep. What give us some thoughts? What was your some reactions?
Well, let me just say that I have like a near, like Office Space is near and dear to my heart. I've seen it so many times, although not in 20 years. When I was in high school, like right around the time I guess the movie came out, for some reason I took AP Physics, but I didn't learn a damn thing. But instead, what I remember about that class is ordering Papa John's pizza, and we watched Office Space like every week. And so I have seen this movie probably like 25 times. And so as a student, I thought that was pretty cool. I later became a teacher, and I was like, well, this is maybe not so cool. But at the time, I thought it was really great. But it was definitely different rewatching it 20 years later.
Did it make you want to calculate rocket trajectories or anything like that?
Did you say trajectories?
No, I didn't learn that. I didn't learn that.
I might have.
That was much different than my experience in AP Physics.
Yeah, was the intention like, hey, if you don't learn this physics, you're going to end up in an office like this? Like, what
have
was
a
the
boss
intention?
like Lumberg?
I mean, that would make sense. I don't think so. I think he also worked for NASA and just didn't care.
What?
Damn.
You also had a much
Like I
higher
said-
level educator
Like
than
I
I
said,
did in my
Zach, rocket
paycheck.
projections.
You said trajectories.
Trajectories.
Hopefully he doesn't also listen to podcasts. So let's just say that.
All right. So what's your very favorite part of it?
I love what is it? The tchotchkes? Is that what it is?
Yeah. The flare.
Is that what it is? What are they called? What does she wear?
14
What does
pieces of
Jennifer Aniston
flare.
wear?
14 pieces of flare.
Sorry.
15 pieces.
15.
And
Flare
is the minimum.
That's right.
You know what's
obviously.
funny? You know what's funny is that Katie would be the annoying guy. She would be the equivalent of the annoying
That
kid
wears
who's like,
14.
"You want some poppers?"
yeah.
My favorite stories that Courtney tells my wife from college, where she and Katie met, are that if anyone in the room would ever crack their eyes open at like 7 a.m., Katie'd be like, and this is exactly what Courtney reports it. Good morning. Katie is the sunniest of all the Clemson girls.
She is peppy.
She is
definitely got some pep.
So you would tchotchkes would be your favorite, Katie.
Katie, did you ever work in a restaurant?
It is so true.
Have you ever worked in a restaurant?
I never worked in a restaurant. No, I would spill everything. I'm also a klutz, which I think Courtney would also tell you. No, never.
All right. Okay, so
Is there a problem with that?
I mean,
We're quietly judging you. Don't worry about it.
none of us. Brad worked in a restaurant, but he judges everybody because he's an Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah, when you work at the pinnacle of restaurant tourism,
Looking
like
down
Outback
on everybody
Steakhouse.
else.
Okay. I'm trying to tell. I think Katie's having a hard time hearing because our board operator Brad needs to turn up her mic, but she's not really have a mic. Does she have a mic, Brad? That's her input, Brad. The like.
You mean does she have headphones like sound?
Yeah. Isn't there a headphone button there?
This is good pod.
This is good pod because you know what? You get in the raw situation here. Do you hear us better, Katie?
Check.
Katie, do you have a volume button on your?
We all just lived through a pandemic, so we know that Zoom may not be the most reliable.
I turned on my volume button.
It was Katie all along. All right. Okay, so let's get to it. Katie, you saw the draft. You have
Gives
teams
me all life.
1 through 4. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah.
Analyze. Take it back.
All right. So is it all right if I go through
Yeah, think out
each
loud.
one?
Think
Maybe
out
just
loud.
kind of talk through each one a little
absolutely,
bit.
Well, let's talk about the first pick. Do you
All right.
do you agree with that as a first pick?
Overall.
Does that fit into your idea of being a first?
Who was the first overall again?
Bill Lumberg.
Bill Lumberg.
Bill Lumberg.
Said movie.
Take us through your process, Katie.
All right. So I like Bill Lumberg as a pick. He definitely is the boss that you think of, but I also thought it was almost cheating to put it number one, right? Like
You're
that's
not the
what we're
only
talking
one.
about in this pod, right?
Not the first time for someone to pick a character from the movie, said movie.
First time to go number one.
It's true.
So
it's the best pick.
So we'll see. That may not get you bonus points, but it's a solid pick because it's Bill Lumbergh, you know. Except the one thing I don't understand about Office Space and Bill Lumbergh is what boss wants to come in on a freaking Saturday? Like,
and a
bosses
Sunday.
like
That's a
want
great
to spend
point.
as little time at work as possible.
Yeah.
He's like Michael Scott,
so
right,
that's
who
just-
wants to be at work all the time, except he's not as funny as Michael Scott.
You know what? I've worked for an asshole boss who his world was that location and was willing to come in on Saturdays and do shit that nobody else wanted to do. And it was a shitty job and a shitty workplace, and he was a shitty person, but that was his life. So I think I know it resonates.
I'm not going to ask him to identify the workplace right now.
Well, that's sad.
It's okay,
That's sad.
Katie. You can just say it was a poor pick
All right,
for first
so
pick.
this was Brad's pick. All right. All right. So then, rundown number one. So I'll admit I have never seen Major League Rachel Phelps. So, but that doesn't mean it's totally off the list because there's some other good choices here.
Katie, I've been to a baseball game. I've been to a Washington Nationals game with you, and you're telling me you've never seen Major League?
Truth. Yep.
Oh
Truth.
shit! And
I know.
Tony respects you for that?
Katie, Brad has seen almost none of the movies we discuss on the pod, so you should not take any of this shit from him. Earlier, we talked about the fact that he has not seen The Departed, Godfather, and
Shawshank Redemption.
or Hoosiers. So he has zero credibility here.
Yeah, what a loser.
Yeah. Well, Tony would lose all respect for you for not watching a Shawshank. So I
I'm
think
sure.
we're all right.
That's true. I've lost
We're
a
all
lot
right
of
there.
respect with a lot of people.
It's kind of my thing.
For probably lots of reasons. I'm just kidding, Brad. Just kidding, I love you. So Julia Harris, solid pick. I don't know how you can't remember like a boss like stripping down naked in front of you. I think that's memorable, right? Is that what we're doing? Memorable bosses? Or is it best boss?
Memorable. Definitely memorable.
All right, so Julia Harris for sure. That's a good pick. And I was really excited to see Tropic Thunder, Les Grossman. I had said to my husband, hey, this is a good option. And he told me I was full of shit, but I think it's a good option. So I think whoever picked that, I'm a little excited by that one. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I remember laughing hysterically, and I remember the character quite well. So
The Cruise.
Good one.
Cruise.
All right. Number 2 starts with Social Network, Mark Zuckerberg. And my difficulty with this, not with a pick, is that I can't remember the difference between like Jesse Eisenberg and then like the real Mark Zuckerberg that we see all the time, you know?
Sounds like a great actor to me.
So I'm not sure about this thing.
The category wasn't best actor,
So I'm
most memorable
starting to
actor.
understand who these options are. Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, left Leo DiCaprio's character, right? Like very memorable. I haven't seen The Departed in a long time, but the next one's Sergeant Dignan, right? Is that how you say his name?
Correct.
Dignan?
The Mark Wahlberg character.
Mark Wahlberg, right? I always love a good Mark Wahlberg. So there's a little points in there, even if I don't totally remember his character.
Great abs.
And great abs. And I've never seen Glenn Ross?
It's a tongue twister.
So what is that one? I don't know that one.
Tell
me a little about it.
It's Alec Baldwin, and if you've ever heard anybody tell anybody coffees for closers or ABC, always be closing. That's from Alec Baldwin's speech in Glenn Ross. I don't know who picked that team, but they seem like they're pretty on top of it. So let's see what else you got.
Got it. All right.
I want to blast your Departed pick so hard. I want to blow it all over these walls.
Why? Why do you want to blast it? Let's go. Let's hear it.
We
Let's
can
hear
dive
it.
into it if we want to dive into it. I'm glad you asked.
No, let our judge do her
Let our
judging.
judge do her job.
Okay.
Try not to let these guys muddle your thinking here, Katie. Let's move on.
I mean, I think I have my decision anyway, but all right, we'll keep moving on. All right. Number 3 starts with Willy Wonka. That is a fabulous pick, I think. He oversees these Oompa Loompas, right? Like, he runs a factory. He's making, like, decisions for the future of his factory. So I think that's a pretty, like, solid pick.
Which Willy Wonka do you think he picked? Do you think he picked the Gene Wilder, or do you think he picked the Johnny Depp?
I heard Johnny Depp.
I think he picked Johnny Depp too. We're not sure. Does that affect your decision?
We'll have to go back to the
does.
table.
I'm looking at the title on the form. It says Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which means it is the Gene Wilder version from the older version.
Interesting.
Interesting. All right.
There are different
Well, if
names
it's
for the
Gene
book and the
Wilder-
other movies. Definitely Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder is good. Gene Wilder's good. Johnny Depp, not so much. I love Johnny Depp, but he's creepy as anything.
Looks like an alien.
His chiclet teeth.
Yeah. All right. Willy Wonka's good. Dr. Evil, very memorable. John Milton in Devil's Advocate. I haven't seen it, but it was on my list to watch this week because I knew it would be a really good option. So, not discounting it. Tell me a little bit about the character. Somebody tell me.
He's the devil. Al Pacino plays the devil.
Literally the devil. Also Al Pacino.
And a boss.
Oh,
of
there we go.
something.
That's good.
What was he
That's
the boss
good to
of?
know.
He takes Keanu Reeves under his law firm's.
He's a
wings.
lawyer. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. And then Ebenezer Scrooge in the Muppets Christmas Carol. I mean, well, you had me at Ebenezer Scrooge until I saw you were talking about the Muppets Christmas Carol, Ebenezer Scrooge, and then you may have lost me. Like if you talked about like classic, like 1930s, Christmas Carol, and like 1950s.
Katie,
not the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Katie, you're making my day right now.
All right. So this one, I mean, there's a lot of promise in this one, but now it seems there's questions. Which Willy Wonka? Which Ebenezer? There's too many choices, so I don't know about that one. And then, all right,
We're going to turn off the camera for a second.
Number 4 starts with Miranda Priestley. I think you guys, whoever picked this one, picked it for me because I'm a lady. But I think this one makes sense as like any woman who has ever worked for any like female boss. Like they can be. I've had wonderful female bosses. Anyone listening out there? But I've also ladies are difficult. So that's a good
I feel like
one.
that's a sexist thing for you to say. I resent that as one of the males in the room that I couldn't pick a female boss, or Zach couldn't, or someone, just because we think that's a great boss. I think that's a misogynist thing for Katie to say.
Katie, you're totally on the right track. Katie, you're totally on the right track.
I think it's quite incredible that you picked up all the pandering in that pick. Thank you, Katie.
But I must say it was also on my list. So let's see. Number 2. So I will say Gordon Gekko is number 2 on this list. While I have never seen Wall Street, it still made my runner-up because I know enough about this character that I knew that it should be on my list of memorable bosses. So Gordon Gekko, good solid pick. Don Corleone from The Godfather. Can I confess that until last week I had never seen The Godfather?
That's all right. You're 1 week ahead of Brad.
Really?
And counting. And Zach, right?
All right.
I've never seen it either.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So that was one thing. That was my husband. The first thing he did when he knew I was doing this podcast was, well, you need to sit down and watch this movie. So I now can understand why this is on the list. All right. And then Paula from 40-Year-Old Virgin, Jane Lynch, wanting to be fuck buddy with Steve Carell. Pretty good. That's memorable. I remember if my boss said that to me. So, let's see. As I'm deciding, so I don't think I've seen enough of number 2, unfortunately. And I don't know about Mark Zuckerberg versus Jesse Eisenberg. So I think number 2 is sadly off my list.
It's a great decision.
So sorry.
The audience is not surprised, Kate.
First
All
one
right.
in, first one out.
All right, next one out of
Morning
the
Wood
list.
Apartments.
Number 3, unfortunately, it's the Muppets. The Muppets lost it for me. Muppets lost it for me, man.
Michael Caine abuses Kermit the Frog. How? That's like way more horrific than any other version of Ebenezer Scrooge.
Sorry,
My
Brad.
gosh, Katie.
Hate me forever.
I won't hate you forever until I hear what your final decision is.
All right.
It's always going to
All
come
right.
down to this.
All right, so it's between number 1, Bill Lumbergh, Rachel Phelps, Naked, Dr. Julia Harris, and Les Grossman. Got that one. And then Miranda Priestley, Gordon Gekko, Don Corleone, and Paula from 40-Year-Old Virgin. And my number 1 favorite is number 4.
Yes, it is.
Yep. Has to be number 4.
Taking home that first win.
So the big question here is, Nate, did you know that Katie watched The Godfather?
I did not know.
This last week.
I did know that she was watching movies. So she was in like a training regimen. She was watching movies, but I did not know what movies she was watching. She didn't.
I feel like
that.
there might have been some secret info here.
Are you saying collusion?
I
Is that-
think
do
there
I hear
might be some
collusion?
Who could have ever guessed that the most pandering of the pandering picks for our female
You know
guest
what?
judge?
I will say that is sexist, and as a feminist, I resent it.
You know, Katie, we always say on this podcast that we really, we're a voice for the underrepresented middle-aged white males out there. And we were glad that Nate was able to, just kind of bring you in and just, really reach out to our female viewers and just show everybody that, we can play both sides of this game.
You know what? I still defend that Miranda Priestley is the most memorable boss in modern movie history.
Jesus.
Disagreed, but I feel, Katie, if you saw Major League and you saw Rachel Phelps, you would fully have gone with number 1 because Rachel Phelps is a badass female boss. She tries to fuck over the Cleveland Indians, and
you like baseball. I mean, you like baseball.
You are a
It sounds
baseball
like. You're a
fan.
baseball fan.
I am a baseball fan.
Major
It's
League
true.
should be at the top. Should be at the top of the list.
What lost it for you was your pick of the Muppet movie in a serious movie podcast. I think that's really where you lost.
The Muppet movie is a classic Christmas movie, and if you don't watch it every Christmas, shame on you.
The Scrooge story has been told on film like 100 times, and you picked one that had Kermit the Frog.
Michael Caine is fucking over Kermit the Frog. Like who would ever think to do that except Michael Caine?
I'm sure there is a fetish out there where people want to fuck Kermit the Frog. I'm positive of that.
100%.
Okay, Katie.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
I mean, well, do you want to hear mine? I have some things. They're some are similar.
What are the ones that you had that we did not choose?
All right, so let's see. All right, my number 1, Miranda Priestley. Can't deny that. And then I had Julia Harris. So those I agreed with. Number 3, I think he's a boss. Maybe he's a business owner, but it's like the same kind of thing. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. There's your Christmas story.
Mm-hmm. How many Muppets are in that, Katie? I don't think that's a legitimate pick.
If you like boring ass movies, watch It's a Wonderful
Zero
Life. If you
Muppets.
like amazing, fun Christmas movies, watch A Muppet's Christmas Carol.
Watch Elf.
Or Elf.
Okay, and we're rounded
All
out.
right, Tony Stark.
Yeah, we talked about that one.
He was mentioned.
We're a pretty anti-Marvel podcast, I think.
We are.
I didn't want to pander to you, so I didn't take Tony Stark.
And then this is totally girly, totally random, and I'm ready for you to make fun of me. But I have a near and dear to my heart is Topher Grace from Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. He's the manager of the Piggly Wiggly. Pretty good.
Ooh,
okay.
I had not.
Yep.
Topher Grace, low-key sexy, I will say. Can I throw that out?
for
Topher
sure.
Grace is low.
He's had some funny cameo roles too. Some very good.
I
Cameo
like
roles.
me some Topher Grace.
When he's in isn't he in Ocean's 11? He's learning to play cards. That's Brad Pitt's teaching him
he
cards.
is.
He plays himself, right?
Yeah, he's like, I've got 3 pairs.
Good list. We ran down some extras, and there was it was deeper than I thought it was going to be.
It was the funny thing about this category was when I first started thinking of bosses, I came up with 2, and then I was like, man, I don't have anything else. And then I took a page out of my friend Nick Brown's book and just started thinking of people that weren't really bosses, and I thought of so many more. It was incredible.
Got your first one out of the draft too. Mine took me to I think a tied win, right? Was mine the tied win with the Indy?
Yep.
No, it wasn't. It was a loss.
Hey, Nick, it's okay. You can be okay with being middle of the pack every round.
So, Katie,
professors.
Katie, I apologize. I have to do this, but the internet cut out just a tiny bit right when you said which team won, and I didn't hear that. Could you?
Yeah, that's not necessary.
Is it?
I'm just going to edit your voice, and it's going to be, yeah, I choose Nate, who pandered directly to me.
Oh, so it's just going to be Nate's, Brad's voice.
All right. Katie, it is well past midnight there, and you have been drinking since something like 8 a.m. this morning. So we're going to let you
British time.
We're going to let you go and satisfy your husband, who's no doubt sitting in bed, posing like George Costanza on the leopard rug.
Katie's liver has got to process a whole bunch of egg whites right now, so she's going to go.
Steps or
All right, we love you, Katie.
Thanks,
and
Katie.
We appreciate you coming on, and we will. This is the first, but not the last time we expect to see you on Bevs.
Sounds good. Love you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
Well, that about wraps it up. I get my first win. Well deserved, really overdue.
How does it feel, Nate? How does it feel to win one of these? I've never experienced it.
No, but really, he wants to know what you're feeling physically, mentally, emotionally.
Feels kind of tinky.
The table is raised up a few inches. What's going on?
Zach, do you want to ask how third feels or second?
Feels like being at Morningwood. Feels like being at Morningwood Apartments.
Pause brought to you by Morningwood.
Straightens you right out.
All right. The only thing remaining for all you Bevs listeners is what to watch next, and I believe our pick here is from Bradford.
Yep. So our next movie is going to be a 90s, in my opinion, classic. And maybe it's a little bit of a cult classic. Late 90s, maybe the best of some of the Tarantino kind of impersonation movies. And this movie would be the movie Go.
Whoa! Didn't see that one coming.
The movie Go. It is Doug Liman directed. John August wrote this film, and it's a classic. And since we have one of the best all-time drug dealers in this movie, Modesto's own Timothy Oliphant, we're going to be drafting the best drug dealers in film.
What a great category!
Can I tell you, Brad, that
drug dealers
that's our best category.
This is one of my movies that I owned on VHS as a youngster, and I love this movie. It has my favorite actress in the entire world, Katie Holmes.
I love me some Katie Holmes.
Timothy Oliphant. Oh,
I've never seen Go.
Nick has never seen
love it.
Dude.
It's really good. And I have
really
some
good,
great... I've got 2 drug dealers right off the top of my head that are so spectacular. And they're not like your James Francos or guys like that.
I just watched a movie that had
good
a great drug dealer in it that I had never seen, and I'm not going to reveal it because I'm...
this is an exciting one for me. I like that, Brad.
Hey, it's a fun movie. It's a lot of fun, and I think it was criminally underrated because it kind of got lumped in with some, like I said, those Tarantino kind of wannabe films. It's definitely presented different time periods, so it's like the same scene happening from different perspectives. So,
do we know the director?
Movie. Yeah, Doug Liman, who went on to do Edge of Tomorrow, Swingers.
Oh, bro,
Doug Liman. So he's done a lot of big things.
Edge of Tomorrow is one of my favorite movies ever.
Oh, that could be in the pod. That could be a future one for sure. Yep,
range.
Yep, he's got some interesting stuff.
That's crazy. Swingers, Edge of Tomorrow.
Pretty different movies.
Yeah, because Swingers is terrible and Edge of Tomorrow is really good. So that's a
terrible
very
take.
Hot and
how long has it been since you watched Swingers?
Like a hot turd.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Okay, so all you bevies go out and watch Go, and be locked and loaded when the next pod drops. Until then, see ya.
Bye.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies, just a blind ride. favorite podcast. Let's start